All right. Hey, everybody. Doing it again. My name is Joel, joined by my fabulous co host, Brian, with a bunch of amazing special guests. We're going to talk about motherfucking Star Wars. All right. We've been excited about this. I mean, we love Star Wars. It's been around for decades now. And, my parents like it and so forth. So it's been, a part of my life forever. But I'm just going to have our guests introduce themselves and maybe share one thing about Star Wars we like really quick. And then we'll move on. I'll say really quick, of course. I love Star Wars. I'm gonna say one quick thing. Really enjoy the Han Solo movie every time I watch it. I'm gonna throw it to Brian, then Nate, then Joel, then Victor. All right, go.
Well, I have been in the Star Wars game for a long time, and for me personally, it's very hard to pick just one favorite thing, but I have to go off recency bias. I saw the 25th anniversary of Episode 1 in theaters, and god damn it, does the pod racer scene still hit? So, pod racer,
yes.
underutilized Lucasfilm, you need pod racers and everything.
Yes.
That is my creed.
Man, let's go.
Me next. My name is Nate. What's funny, Joel, is you said that your dad introduced you to like Star Wars, or your family's into it. Like that's how I entered Star Wars when I was like super little. My dad was a super nerd too, and he introduced all the nerdy stuff to me, and including Star Wars. I think my favorite thing about the franchise is the villains and any of the antagonists. I know the Empire is like a huge part of that, and their motives and priorities are pretty much the same. But I think like when it comes to the Sith or any other villains that are outside of the Empire, I feel like that their motivations and just their aesthetics are so fun to just like root for. I'm not supposed to root for them, but they're just so fucking cool.
Nice.
Some of them are right. Some we're like, oh, you know what?
Sometimes it's cool to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Guess that makes it my turn. Hello, my name is also Joel, but for the purposes of this, I will be going by Joby. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars. What can you really say? It's not a lifestyle, mom. Like, this is what it is. I also am a big dark side guy. I think the rebels are terrorists and the Jedi suck. I got my Sith code tattoo on my arm.
Oh, that's right.
But I'm actually going to take it more macro and say that I think my favorite thing about Star Wars is just the universe. It's just such a unique and complex world that, say what you will about whatever movies have come out and, the creative decisions that have been made. It's just so interesting and immersive. And it's a perfect blend of, fantasy and action and adventure and just everything that I love. And I'm gonna be a Star Wars fan till the day I die.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so I'm next. All right, cool. So what's up, everyone? I'm Vic. Victor. My friends call me Vic, so you guys are my friends, so you guys can call me Vic. Of course, you've made the list. You guys call me Vic. Join in.
Hey.
Right. Yeah, there you go. So Vic, I am from the host of Games You Must podcast where we talk about all things video games, board games, pop culture. So this is right up my alley. Ready to talk all things Star Wars. Love talking Star Wars. Did a couple episodes on our podcast about Star Wars, mostly about the film scores, which John Williams killed it with that. But with Star Wars, man, yeah, like it's funny you say both Joels were saying about dark side team dark side team Empire. It's funny because my buddy and I, when we go on at Disneyland, we ride when it's Hyperspace Mountain. We're rooting for the Empire.
Yeah.
We're rooting for the Empire. We're like, yeah, and everyone's all happy that they destroyed the Star Destroyers, and we're over here like boo, boo. We're like, wow, booing that the whole ride. Everyone's like yelling and screaming, and I'm over here like, no, the Empire is doing a routine, security check, and we over here just blew up their equipment. Like, yeah, and everyone's all happy about that. Whatever, it cost thousands of millions of dollars.
Yeah, they're just doing their job, their salary, 9 to 5, and the freedom fighters come along and
start blowing up their stuff, their work, and a lot of families lost dads that day, or moms or whatever, because some people wanted to just go through the space. But yeah, I love Star Wars. Everything Star Wars. I love the lore about Star Wars. Even I'm a big fan of the Star Wars Legends, the canon books. I love reading those books. I love the lore and everything. Choicey words with what Disney's been doing with that lore, but we can get that and we can talk about that further in. But yeah, and the micro stuff, like you said, with the lore, with the worlds, a different species, a different, just just the world building that Lucas did, and how it expanded into that. Very, 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 very intrigued by all that. Very awesome, and again, it inspired thousands and thousands of other things from the sci-fi universe and stuff like that derive from that, and a lot of parodies, a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I love Star Wars. Excited to talk about Star Wars, anything and everything Star Wars. Debate Star Wars all day if we have to, but yeah, I love it all and stuff like that. So, but happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for inviting us here to do this Star Wars talk.
Awesome. Good to hear it. And thank you all for making it today. All right, Victor, you brought up a good point. We've heard this question thrown around. Just want to hear your thoughts, everybody. We'll go down the list as it's put on Discord. But would these movies be as successful if the music was mediocre? I'll let you sit with that for a second. Visually stunning, I'd say. Very cinematic, of course. Great reuse of the tale of the hero, but as far as that the themes, the music, I mean, it's iconic. If it wasn't there, would Star Wars still be as good as it is? All right, Brian, start us off.
Well, I mean, what is the first introduction that you get to the Star Wars experience? You, as a little kid, go into the movie theater. Doesn't matter which episode it is. You sit down, the lights dim, and what are you greeted to? But just that roarous introduction by John Williams and his orchestra. It's like, and it's like so. I feel like if it were anything lesser than, it would. Who knows? Maybe Star Wars would still be fun just based off of the character actors and the world building that it does. But I mean, just off the top of your head, like how many scores can you remember? It's like Duel of the Fates,
Yes,
the Cantina music. I could like on and on, but it's that first introduction of the title crawl that warps you into like this world of Star Wars. So I feel like if you had anything less than that, it just wouldn't be the same.
That orchestra just blaring when you said that, when you described that, Brian, that's ingrained in my memory. That's like a core memory when I was like little. And I was like, I haven't heard or listened to that in such a long time. But right as you started describing that opening crawl, I was like, oh my. And then
It's in your head.
Flashbacks. Yeah.
How about you, Joby?
Yeah, I mean, Brian said it. How many iconic scores have come to mind when you think of the greatest movies of all time? There's only a handful, and I would say John Williams has really made that, even just like Brian said, that first intro into a Star Wars movie. And then you've got the Cantina song, you've got the Duel of the Fates. I mean, I find myself humming Duel of the Fates to myself just in my personal life all the time.
Same.
About my business. But it even goes down so far as to like the smaller like songs, like the interlude music in between scenes. Like you have at the end of the title crawl, you have that like ponderous little like flute sound, violin sound as the camera pans down onto the scene. Like it just does such a good job of keeping you fully immersed. So I'm gonna fully say that I don't think Star Wars would be as incredible and amazing as it is without the score. I think the score really makes it. It just completes the package, and without it, it would be lacking something so vital.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. It's when it comes to films and television, the music is part of the same coin. It's a two-sided coin. You have what's being portrayed and then what you're hearing, so it's affecting the whole thing. Just the same thing can be said about Lord of the Rings and Howard Shore's score. You can't take that away, Lord of the Rings would not be as amazing as it is without its sound score. Same with Star Wars, like I said, the you said with the opening title crawl, those horns blaring in the very beginning. When I was a kid, that scared me though, because I was like, "Whoa, what the heck?" And it startled you, and you're like, "Oh, okay," and then you're like, started going, and it's all right. We're in for a ride. You guys are taking us into our journey. It's conveying emotions. We're feeling what the characters are feeling through sound. We could feel it through lines written through a script and portrayed how the actor is acting it out. But the music is what drives the emotion. That's why when we listen to music and songs and catchy things, it sticks with us because we are, constantly, like you said, like Joby said, constantly humming Duel of the Fates. We're constantly humming our favorite songs. Why? Because they invoke such a powerful emotion in us and such a memory in us that, I'm always humming Duel of the Fates. I'm always humming, John Williams's Harry Potter stuff. I'm always doing a lot of humming a lot of film scores because they were so engraved into my life that and invoke certain emotions. I'm pretty sure if we played, certain film scores from Star Wars, we can start picturing the scene of what we're of that. The cantina song.
sure.
You could already see episode 4. You could already see when Obi-Wan and Luke come into the cantina. I could always hear, the bartender, "Hey, we don't serve their kind of here," and pointing to C-3PO, and you guys got away. You can always picture a scene, and that I don't think that can be achieved if there's no music involved. And so I agree with Joby. No, music is a must for the Star Wars, and John Williams killed it. And if we didn't have that, Star Wars would be just some, B-sided movie, sci-fi movie that no one really tossed aside, and we wouldn't have this amazing franchise as we have now.
I
Vic,
would
it's
love to-
very. Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Brian.
I just wanted to interject before we could do. But Vic, you mentioning the bartender from Mos Eisley, the cantina. As you were talking, the whole scene of the two guys coming up to Luke, and it's like, "My friend doesn't like you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like you either."
Yeah.
It's like that just shows the power of this, like the setting.
Music, yeah,
Oh
of
my
everything. Yeah,
God.
the sound just invades, and you can just literally picture the whole scene and stuff like that. And you're lost in thought after that.
Yeah, like
Go on, Nate.
how much less emotion would there be in that fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan
Oh my goodness.
without
Yeah.
the orchestra and
Mm.
the the voiceover singing in the background, like all of that. It would be a
Mm.
cool scene if and you be like, okay, I get that this is supposed to be emotional, like
Oh,
these two, like father son
dude, I just got
and
chills. I just
brother.
got chills thinking about that. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
Like,
Yeah, I'm just getting
but then
chills about. Oh man.
but then you pair it with the music, and you're like, wow, this is really a turning point in the story
Yeah.
for these two characters in particular.
No. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan, it would just fallen flat without any of that. The music in the background. And, your new empire. Everybody just like, all right, whatever. But yeah, just yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. It conveys that emotion. It's just like, yeah.
I
Gotta
would
have.
play the original Battlefront 2, and in the menu screen that song would come up, and I would just wait
Yes.
until
You
it
just
phases away
wait on
because
screen.
I was
Yep.
just so entranced.
Yes.
But Nate, go for it.
I was gonna suggest, like, what if you had like two test groups, one group that had never seen Star Wars before. There are people
Ooh.
out there that exist, and like play mediocre, like
Music.
royalty free
Put it in the
music.
scene.
Yeah, replace it, and then like see how they interact with it. I think that'd be a really fun experiment.
That'd be pretty cool. I'd do that. I would do that. That'd be pretty interesting to see that playing. Cantina music comes in and just like some just like some random music. Yeah, yeah,
So it's
some
just
random.
random house music.
Yeah.
I was about to say you get some like Avicii going in the background.
Dang.
Head.
And you're like, okay. I don't know had EDM back in the 70s.
I definitely have to agree with you guys. I think the music makes the franchise, honestly, and to a point where it's intersecting, other movies. We have the two who are the Dyad and the Force, and their themes are literally the same, but just played backwards. That's Kylo Ren and Rey's theme are literally the same. We see Kylo Ren's theme return in another property, which I didn't expect, hinting at a character of Darkseid, which is, I think, awesome, with the Acolyte. And then, of course, they even know they're meta about the music in the Solo movie. There's literally a song called Reminiscence Therapy. It's literally the themes when they're doing the chase. and it's literally, you know, the themes from Empire. It's just, it's phenomenal stuff. I
Yeah.
mean,
Joel, you just made me remember something about Solo. The scene where Han is going to enlist in the Empire, and in
oh
the
yeah, yeah.
background they
I
have
was
the
gonna get to
Imperial
that.
March,
Yeah.
but it's in a more upbeat, like patriotic version of it, and it's just so
Oh snap!
so
Yeah, the
wild.
Yeah,
recruiting office. Yeah, it's like a nice little like, you know, it's like, hey,
yeah,
come work for the Empire, and you know,
yeah. We're
it's
great.
clever. It's
I mean,
very
that would have got
clever.
me to enlist.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, getting off Corellia for sure.
All right.
Yeah, the music is just, you know, it was my alarm for like the longest time was the end of the Last Jedi, all the themes for a while. So it's just
Mm,
so good, and you know, of course, John Williams, a genius, of course. So
the
with
goat.
everything he's brought, the goat for sure.
Mhm.
Let's see, I got like a bunch of questions I want to jump off to. I'm just gonna go dive right into it. Because Nate brought it up. The villains, I think, are just so good and iconic. And as time has gone by, you know, we there was mystery, and you know, we don't know, and you know, little hints there. And then as you know, the audience grows, we grow. We get more complicated villains, more complex villains, and you know, the Empire, you know, they're kind of like what, you know, one note sometimes, but even then they evolve and expand. And I was just, you know, thinking back to the Ahsoka show. We have like a new twist on the stormtroopers. They're not even alive anymore, which I thought was a fucking wild twist. So, um, yeah, just it's just so good. And I don't know if there's there like a standout villain for you guys. Like one is like every time it's like, yep, that's rooting for every time, no matter what. Or is there like a, you know, when you think Star Wars villain, like who comes to
Thrawn. You
mind
got the Thrawn right there.
first?
I came
Yeah, oh,
prepared,
yep.
baby.
So
Came with that Thrawn.
just yeah,
Never doubt my
just
blue
throw out
man.
your villain or the motives, or maybe even a villain that you think maybe could be fleshed out more. Yeah, just we'll just go down the list again. Brian, I know you just shared our blue boy, so go ahead.
I mean, I am so glad that they've realized that Thrawn is probably one of the best, like, non-force using, just like regular, like Imperial soldier, well, not even a soldier, but like they kind of like the upper crust of the Empire. Like, to me, he comes off as this guy who's like in the Empire, where alien species don't normally either are involved or get to a higher ranking. He was able to prove himself to be a Grand Admiral and like rise through the ranks. I know he was a legacy character that got finally brought into uh, the modern canon with Rebels, and then they had Timothy Zahn come back to make a whole new book series for him, and then now he's in live action, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But just the wherewithal of someone like Thrawn, where he's able to calculate somebody and like use their whole history. Like he collects art so he understands different races and different tribes of people. That way he can better process their battle tactics and like go in strategically where everybody else thinks he's crazy and everybody thinks he's gonna lead them to death. He always sees like 10 steps ahead of everybody else, and it's only under the dire circumstances where someone gets the leg up on him. But it's he's for me, he's one of those characters, or every time he's on the screen, I'm just like, yeah, get him, Thrawn. Go get him. I can't help it.
Yep. OG.
I'll take it. I so two things actually, Joel, because you brought it up with the Star Troop or the troopers not even being alive anymore. Um, that's actually a playoff of a Star Wars novel that came out in 2009. Just FYI, check it out. Really good. Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber. Great novel.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I'm going to kick it way back. I'm actually going to say that I really have been underwhelmed with the current iteration of Star Wars villains. I just don't think that they're as impactful as they used to be, and maybe that's a commentary on um, just how Disney has been handling Star Wars, but we'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I actually got to say the old Republic villains are just so much more impressive and larger than life, really. I mean, I think my favorite Sith Lord of all time really is Darth Bane.
Ooh.
He without him, he is the one that created the rule of two and really set in motion, the path that the modern Sith have been following. And he had one appearance in all of Star Wars media, and I mean, there's a novel trilogy about him that I was obsessed with growing up, and
Mm.
the books just portray him to be this titan of a being. And when he had his one scene with Yoda in the Clone Wars animated series, it was cool. It was like,
Mm.
oh, Darth Bane mentioned, like, oh, cool. But it just didn't hit right, and I feel like it was a really missed opportunity.
Mhm.
Um, and with he was the one he destroyed all the other Sith Lords, really took over, and I think the closest that we could get to like an awesome Sith Lord now is probably Manny Jacinto's character in The Acolyte.
Oh God, he was
But
so
even
cool.
yeah, I'm like, he's cool, but even then I'm like, okay, but I kind of saw it coming a mile away, and
Mm.
I didn't even finish watching The Acolyte.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised that you guys didn't go with the guys that are the Empire sympathizers didn't go with like the Jedi are the villains. Are the true villains here. They're the bad guys here,
A
not the
little too on
Empire.
the nose.
Yeah. Um, I like. I'm gonna go. My choice is might be weird, but I for me is Palpatine.
Oh, OG.
Because OG and like if you just because like we for those that don't like dive into the books or have read the comics or aren't deep into the lore, have only seen through the film, they're just like, oh yeah, Palpatine, yeah, he tricked the Sith, he tricked the Jedi, he's a bad guy, he's the Emperor, right? But it's like many people don't like realize like how powerful Palpatine like is, like how he was able to trick like Yoda, like the strongest, like the most strongest in the Force. He was able to conceal himself from the Force and like just interweb like into like his web of like deceptions and stuff like that. How he like was like the puppet master of the whole Clone Wars and everything. Like how powerful you got to be, especially when he was with his old master, how you tricked him too. You tricked him to thinking that he was coming up with his own like ideas, but in reality it was just Palpatine like inceptioning him pretty much with the Force. Like that is just like insane. And so for me, like Palpatine, like seduce Anakin. He I was watching what was it like I think Freddie Prinze Jr. how he's talking about the Force.
Oh
How
yeah, I've seen
how
that
he's
interview.
we're talking about with like there's balance, with like if it all goes to the dark side, the Force is going to find balance, and Palpatine knew that, so he's like, how do I find balance? Well, I seduce. He seduces Anakin because Anakin was the chosen one. Well, I'm going to seduce him because if he becomes the chosen one, that it's gonna be chaos. So he seduced Anakin and he turned him to the dark side. And second greatest villain is Darth Vader with his complexity and also how powerful he is, especially if you're reading the comics and the books. How terrifying he was. I mean, the original trilogy, you already saw it, especially and going back to the music. Whenever you saw Darth Vader come in, dun dun dun, dun like that music, like that music, is all right. This guy's a bad guy. This guy's a villain, and he's menacing. And so for me, Palpatine is just like the one that started it all, the one that started this whole, episode 1 to episode, was it 7, 8, 9, 9, 9? I think. Um,
Nine
yeah,
films.
he was behind it all, and so it's like, how could you not be like, this is a crazy villain to have. And I'm again, I'm with you there, Joby, with like the newer stuff. The villains aren't as completely fleshed out as they were back in the times when they made it, even with the video games. They made them a bit more complexity and stuff like that. Now it's like they kind of go like the Marvel route with villains, where like a lot of Marvel villains aren't that great. They're just like, and so yeah, Palpatine's gonna be my number one choice with it. It's like how crazy that guy was.
Oh man, I really appreciate that answer too. Aesthetically, I think my favorite villain, and I think there's a lot of fans out there. There's so much fan power behind like Darth Maul. Just like his aesthetic is just amazing. I think
Yeah.
he blew my mind when I was little when
Oh
Episode
man.
1 came out. When he was like, "Wait, you can have two sabers in the
Yeah.
same hilt," and it just blew my fucking mind. And I was like, "Holy shit!" But aesthetically, favorite one. But I do agree with Vic. My favorite villain overall is going to be Palpatine. And I think you touched on something really important, is that he was able to get into politics and win not through brute force, but by influence and seducing everyone. His name should really be Darth Seducius. But like he's such and I think it's a really fun metaphor to real life villains, where we have corrupt politicians in governments using their influence and their hidden agendas to get what they want, and just basically imposing their goals onto everyone else and tricking them into thinking that, this is what we all want. So overall, great choice in villains. I think Palpatine will always be my favorite one, just because the writing is all there. I think I didn't appreciate them bringing him back in episode 9. I thought that was kind of a cop out. It felt like they were bringing it.
Don't say that. Don't say that. It's more accurate though that he comes back. In the original Star Wars novels, the decanonized novels, he comes back. I loved that they did that.
Oh, interesting. So for everyone viewing, I am the odd man out here. I'm not as well versed in Star Wars. I told Joel, I was like, hey, I'm coming in, but I don't know anything about Star Wars. I just know like the original stuff, maybe like the live action movies, some Disney Plus content. So like I don't know all of that. So Joby, if you can expound more on that, I'd love to know more.
Yeah. So I actually was talking to a good friend of mine about this just the other day, where he said the same thing. He's like, I didn't get why they like had, it just felt like such fan service, like they couldn't let the character die. I'm like, no, it's the first time in the Disney expanded universe that they actually brought back something that was decanonized. In the original novels post episode 6, all the stuff that Disney decanonized, Palpatine has thousands of clones. And it's explained that when Darth Vader throws him out, throws him down the shaft, and you see all that force energy come flying up, that's Palpatine's. To your point, Vic, of just how powerful he is. He was able to transfer his force spirit into one of his clones, and every time he died, he was able to transfer his consciousness into a different clone. And there's an entire novel series dedicated to Luke just chasing down and trying to hunt down all of these clones. And it kind of ends surreptitiously, and it's a little anticlimactic how it all ends, but it was the only time that I was like, this is such a cool callback.
And just to kind of like top that off, after episode 9 happening, looking back to the more recent Star Wars content, just like in general, they've been kind of setting up the idea of doing it. I don't think it's the way they probably want to do it at the end of the day, but I remember going all the way back to the story campaign for EA's Battlefront 2, where it takes place, you're at the very tail end of Return of the Jedi. The Empire just lost, everything is crumbling around them, and there is a droid that has this AI, or not AI, but has this kind of like recording consciousness of the Emperor, and he's like, begin Project Phoenix. And it's like, what's Project Phoenix? And then you start looking at all the stuff they've done since then, and there's little tricklings of
Mandalorian
with Baby Grogu's like all about, like, we haven't heard cloning since the end of Clone Wars. Like cloning, the idea of cloning in the Star Wars universe kind of fell away after like the Clone Wars happened. But all of a sudden you start hearing little trickles of just like people mentioning like cloning projects, or just like, it's like, oh, we could just make a bunch of new clones. And then you have the Mandalorian, where it's like, well, they want Grogu because, it's another, Yoda alien creature that's very high in the Force. And it's like, what better subject to have if you want to make a clone of Palpatine than that? And then, of course, there's like just little sprinklings of that storyline going through.
Yeah.
Project Necromancer and Bad Batch.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
There's
It's fun. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I read a lot of the novels, so I'm going to be referencing a lot of the novels.
Yeah.
Sweet.
There's a novel trilogy, Republic Commando,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
and it's about the
the Delta Force, right?
yeah, like
Delta Squad.
yeah, it's Special Force clones, right? And their story from their first insertion onto Geonosis all the way through Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, to your point of like these little hints at like what happened to cloning in those novels, there's a storyline where they have to hunt down a rogue Kaminoan who has stolen the cloning technology and is looking to sell it to somebody. And there's like the way that this is why I'm like these things should never have been decanonized, because there's so much extra background story in all of this that would actually make the current iterations of Star Wars make more sense. Like they've been talking about a lot of this stuff for such a long time, but if you only watch what we currently have, you get such a limited picture and you don't really get that. Like why don't they talk about cloning anymore? They made the clone troopers, like they're no longer clones, and there's so much extra context about why that's all going on.
Yeah.
Which is why I really am excited that they're making the Mandalorian universe pretty much just heir to the Empire. Like they are making Thrawn the big bad that happens after Episode 6, where it's like the Empire's fallen down, but hey, Thrawn's here, baby, and he's gonna try to rebuild the Empire, and like everybody's gonna have to team up to try to figure out and out strategize Thrawn, who in canon now, he's just been outside of the galaxy preparing for so many years for this moment in time. And of course, like was Joel was saying earlier, now he's got, this coven of Night Sisters to help him. He's got this whole army of the undead like happening. And of course, all of the strategical power, but now there's no one above him to shut out any of his ideas that he had during the era of the Empire. So I'm really excited to see how they make this work within the canon that we have now.
Yeah.
To your guys' point, it seems like Thrawn is really the perfect foil for Palpatine. Non-Force user, so he didn't have mind abilities to hide himself. He really had to bide his time to grow in the ranks and eventually find himself in a position where he can take over.
And it in the newer books, it shows, because the only reason why Thrawn got to the position he was in is because Palpatine recognized that, hey, like, you might be a Chiss, but you have something unique that could be useful. But of course, we have people like Tarkin and all those other people like looking at him as like, you're good, but we have this thing called the Death Star over here that we think is going to be a real banger. Yeah. So we're gonna do this instead, even though you keep shitting on us for it.
Yeah, we don't need you.
Speaking of real bangers, I want to talk about my top 3 real quick, and then I'm going to focus to something else. I am going to shout out Kamir, because I think he's deadly as fuck and fresh, and his aesthetic is really cool. It's very predictable. Yes, I agree with that, but also it's just they've choreographed him so well, and he's fucking ruthless. I love his modular lightsaber, and how it's like 6 Jedi, no problem, or 8, whatever. It was really cool to see that unfold in the Acolyte. I'm going to shout out Darth Treya from Coder 2. She is with you from beginning to end of the game, pretty much, and she's like kind of manipulating you, kind of not, but it's the first time I saw like someone who kind of hates the Force. In a way, it's really interesting, and like how they use it, and they even cut you off from the Force, they cut themselves off from the Force. And the final battle with her, because you've been with her, you have this history, and she's, you think you down her, it's done. It's like, nah, she summons 3 more lightsabers and you got to fight her again. It's like, man, fuck this bitch. But Darth Traya, shout out to her. And of course, aesthetically for sure, like above both of those, Darth Nihilus, the mask, the robes, the presence, he, controls a Star Destroyer, or the equivalent of it, by will of the Force. He has undead, or not undead, like Sith troopers ready to die at his call. You fight him atop his bridge. It's just him. There's no 10 other ads. It's like, no, it's you and Nihilus right now. And it's, shit's going down. And, he's like consumed whole planets using the Force. He's just a badass fucking villain. And just Coder 2, I just really love Coder 2, what it's done. So I'm going to use that to shift to, since we're already talking about it, just canon and non-canon stuff. This is a question I got that I really like. I'm going to use. What's one non-canon or fan canon thing you could make canon? And I'm just going to say right now, there's this droid who's a fucking badass, who's, sarcastic as fuck. His name's HK-47. He's like, hey, meatbag, eat shit. I'm going to blast you. I love him. I would love to see him canon or an iteration of him. And, to you guys' point, Disney decanonizes stuff. And then, of course, they're like, oh, we could pull it later and put our own twist. So I'm sure we'll see something like that soon. But yeah, I would love to see HK-47 be real. Or if we see more High Republic stuff, like, what's this up with this droid? And he's just like talking shit to you while taking people out. So
yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. Did they, before I answer that, I want to ask, did they make Cal Kestis canon? Has that been announced yet?
He is canon.
He is canon. Okay,
100% canon.
So then I would go with, and they would have to like dumb him down a lot, but Starkiller from The Force Unleashed.
Oh man, God, yeah.
If they made that guy canon, oh my gosh, I'd be. For one, I love Sam Witwer. Sam Witwer is so awesome. He's such a great Star Wars nerd. He's awesome. He's great.
Love him.
But his character as Starkiller, man, like, man, from Force Unleashed, that was one of my top favorite games I love playing. Cause I'm like, dude, like this guy's like so powerful. I understand why they would have made it counter, because he would just destroy everybody. Because he's like,
oh dude, he could
work
incinerate everybody.
Yeah, literally, like he brought down a Star Destroyer with like just the Force, just like using
from space, from space, just
putting it down. Yeah. I was like, bro, if he was a villain, like just cancel the whole series. Like he just killed the whole. he just killed everybody. There's no way, no one can stop him, except like maybe his clones from 2. But yeah, I would want Starkiller canon, but they would have to dumb him down a little bit, like make him less as powerful as he is with the Force. Which you can do it. You guys can do it, and I'm pretty sure Sam Witwer would be like on board with reprising as well as him for sure. But yeah, Starkiller would probably be mine.
I mean, especially because I feel like Sam Witwer is such a good actor that they could kind of change Starkiller from being this just like all powerful, just like, apprentice of Vader, switches from the dark side to the light, and then has just like this awesome power that is just unconceivable in like any other Star Wars media. But you can kind of transfer that into being more of the tragic character that he actually is, like being ripped from his father from a young age so that Vader can train him to be his apprentice, to take down the Emperor. But then, most of us know what that happens about that. But they can kind of I feel like they could pull more of his tragic story and then use him as a maybe catalyst to show that, like, hey, this kid could have been, a good Jedi or a good Sith, but like he's a character unto himself, and he's just like, he just wants to live. Yeah. Like he wants to be his own person. He's finally like, he can still meet Juno. He can start to like discover more about himself. Like we have General Coda finally come into canon, because I feel like he's a really interesting Jedi character that they could really benefit from having somebody that gets like jaded from being a Jedi, but then also kind of in a way how they did with Kanan Jarrus, or like, actually, if come to think of it, Kanan Jarrus is actually kind of like their own version of General Coda, just not an alcoholic.
loses his eyesight, gets his eyesight back when he reconnects with the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically copy paste.
But yeah, I feel like Star Killer could be a good thing. For my pick though, this is kind of like a 2-for-1, just because I've been kind of wanting it for so long, but I feel like it's so wild that ever since Star Wars has been bought by Disney like 2015, we have not gotten a version of Dash Rendar or Cal Katarn. I feel like for video game players, like those two are like very like iconic characters in the Star Wars universe, like the Legacy universe, to the point where I don't know, because Vic, we talked about this before we start recording, but you're playing through Survivor, and in the store where you can get your alternate costumes, they have their own version of Cal Katarn and Dash Rendar in there, because it's a callback to like the classic like action adventure Star Wars games. And I feel like with them having Ahsoka, with them having shows like The Mandalorian, I feel like you could be able to have the bargain bin like Han Solo and Dash Rendar in there, and like they've had his ship in Rebels, I think. The Outrider.
Yeah.
It's just like a different version of the Millennium Falcon, but it's just like a weird horseshoe shaped thing.
Yeah.
And then Cal Katarn is this guy who discovers that he has the ability to Force, but then he has a fear in himself that he would turn to the dark side, that he shuts off all of his, connection to the Force. And I feel like that could have been such a good antithesis to Ahsoka's character in the Disney Plus show, that it could have worked out. So I'm really hoping that with this whole Mandalorian like series that they're doing with like the movie and then like Heir to Empire kind of stuff, I really hope that they could at least find a place for one of the other Cal Katarn or Dash Rendar, because I think it would be very good characters to have.
Isle Rendar, Dash Katarn.
Nice.
I have a dumb person question.
Yeah.
I know Star Killer. I've played the game, and is like video games not considered canon as part of the Star Wars universe?
For the most part, no.
For video games before the Disney purchase.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it.
everything after Disney bought them is considered canon. Like in any media, it's considered canon. But like everything before that, they kind of went strictly with the movies and TV shows as
Wait,
canon. And
Are the EA Battlefronts canon?
yes,
Yes.
With that storyline?
yes.
Got it. Okay. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to go throw out a bunch of stuff. Hold on.
No, it's good.
Lord. Wait, so Kotor is not even canon then. Oh man, imagine if they made Kotor.
KOTOR is a weird thing because
They're kind of like nipping at it. They're like taking like bits
Yeah,
from
they
it a
are.
little bit.
well,
and,
because like we talk about how like Joby was talking about how they threw in Darth Bane in the Clone Wars, and then a little Easter egg that I don't know if people caught, but in The Rise of Skywalker, these Sith troopers, each platoon is named after a Sith Lord from the Old Republic.
oh really?
Yeah, there was
So-
like Adendu.
I think Revan was one of them too.
Revan.
There's a Revan squad, yeah.
Yep.
So it's like they have the idea of the Old Republic in like the canon, like modern Star Wars universe, but I feel like they're probably not gonna really touch upon it until they get there, because I know they have a plan to do like the Dawn of the Jedi and then probably start to pan through the Old Republic, but I feel like they haven't really like said anything about the Old Republic.
So that was
Yeah.
actually going to be what I was going to talk about stuff I want to see canonized.
Oh,
I am a huge fan. I love this game so much. Star Wars: The Old Republic, the shitty little Star Wars MMO. I think it's one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made. I don't care what anybody says. That's a hill I will die on. I would love to see those stories in that game become canonized. I think you talk about how powerful Palpatine is. Can we take a moment to talk about how powerful Darth Malgus is? The guy's a
Mm.
fucking tank.
Hey, some
And
of the cinematics in that game were amazing.
the cinematic trailers are Oscar worthy
Yeah. Oh my
pieces
gosh.
of media. I mean, they are just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
gave Warcraft a run for their money.
Oh, yeah.
exactly. And
Oh, yeah.
to my point earlier, there's just so much content there that you could make so many movies and TV shows and comic books and spin-off media. There's just so
Yeah.
much there. I just not even just the game, just the Old Republic timeline itself. I would love to see get recanonized and brought into the fold of the current iteration of Star Wars.
Yeah. I just couldn't get past over the grinding in that game though. Because I was like, I want to know about the storyline, but it's like, oh, I have to go kill 14 of these creatures first to level up and fetch quests. And I was like, I like that MMO. The MMO was fun, but it just followed into like the whole World of Warcraft type of thing where it's like you got to go grind, level up, and I'm like, no, I just want to know more about the story, but I can't because I got to like continue on with these quests. And I was just like, it threw me off. I was like, I'll just read about it. I'll just Google it instead of playing it, instead of
Fair enough,
watching
fair
it.
enough.
But yeah. Man, there's a
Before we
lot of
shift,
stuff.
what about
Yeah.
you? What about you, Nate? Any old things you want to see brought to the forefront?
Now that I know what is canon and not canon, I'm there with Joby. I watched my brother play Knights of the Old Republic. It was so cool. And then same thing with Vic. I couldn't get past the grinding. I just didn't have the patience for it. But my brother, he absolutely loved it. He played the first one, second one, and when I would like, we shared a bedroom when we were little, and when he was playing it, I would get peeks of it here and there, and I was like, whoa, this is nuts. This is Star Wars. Like, this is a different timeline. This is so cool. And I really want them to start like go gung ho, just throw all the shit out the window and like all of Disney's um their safety net, right? Because like I'm just kind of frustrated with Disney and how they're just kind of clinging to what's safe. They don't want to take risks. They don't want to put the money and prioritize better writing or better writers or just like
Yeah.
putting anything. I want them to go in a different direction. I want them to step away from the Skywalker stuff, even though I know so many people love it, including myself. I think 40 plus years, maybe less. I don't know. My math is bad. I don't know Star Wars timeline stuff. Chronologically, like when the first movie was released, etc. I think there's been enough, and I want them to do stuff from the Knights of the Old Republic. I like the prequel stuff. They did that with episodes 1, 2, and 3. Like, how did we get here? So, like, I would love to see how did the Old Republic get started? How did the Jedi get started? How were the Sith before the Rule of Two? There's so many things that they can touch on this expansive universe, but they just want to stick in this tiny little pocket where it's familiar, it's safe, it's fan service, and which is there's nothing wrong with it. But I want them to take risks, and and I think that's what's keeping me away from the franchise as an adult, because I want more, and it
Yeah.
feels like the same. And I'm sorry if I'm shitting all over you guys right now. If you like,
No.
No.
Okay.
That's the whole point of this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we need the differing opinions because Brian and I, we're gonna fucking just like we love Star. We'll fucking
We're fucking
force
sickos,
feed
dude.
it. Yeah, and you guys are like, oh, we don't like the Acolyte, and I'm like, like so we need the differing opinion. But that's great. I'm gonna actually shift. I was gonna talk about something else, but I think we should hit some critiques though for sure. Acolyte's a hot topic. I will say, I do agree with them being safe, very fan servicey. I mean, I love that shit. But yeah, it was announced we're getting like a Dawn of the Jedi film. It's like finally, right? Where it all started. That's cool. I hope the guy who did Logan and the Last Indiana Jones is going to be behind it. So I have some faith that'll be good.
It's
But
gonna look good.
I'm currently reading the book, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, the Dawn of the Jedi,
Nice.
which is, Joe, you might know the main character was it Mara Jade, or who's the main character?
Mara Jade.
Of Mara Jade, yeah, I do like her character in the book. It's interesting, and like when I was reading it, I was like, I could picture them doing a good movie with this one for sure, if they, like what Joe said, if they take the risks and kind of go full throttle with this one, I think it'd be a really good movie for that one. But anyway, continue. Sorry, I cut you off right there.
Yeah, I mean, we love this stuff, but I know when to critique it, when to sit back, and I do have like rose tinted goggles like 99% of the time for Star Wars. Somehow Palpatine returned, whatever, I'm on board. Fuck it,
Mhm.
sure. Uh, Palpatine tricks Anakin. Fuck, I hate it. Oh well, I'm here now. Whatever. Just there are some like really good ones, and then there are some shitty critiques. Last Jedi, of course, we have to talk about it. Very polarizing, very subversive. It flips what we know about Star Wars on its head as well. It challenges us. It's literally like the opposite, and it did some great things. It also showed us, I think, how bad fandoms, at least for me, the first time, how fandoms can really be, like some bad if they are, or how bad they can be toxic. And it's kind of disappointing, but it's also letting me know like this is how people think about it. Like I it's good to see the differences as well. But yeah, for sure, I know that the hot one now is the Acolytes cancellation and how they're handling it. I'm just gonna, it keeps coming back up, like what people thought of The Last Jedi, and it was definitely like they took a lot of risks, and I know it's still grounded in some safety, and yeah, it's just crazy what it did. And like I saw it like twice in theaters, maybe even three times. It just cinematically it did some great things and challenged us what we knew, and just like the heroes are flawed. Like you can't always have this rebel faction winning all the fucking time, right? Like they do the impossible every time and succeed. No, they don't. And that's what it's almost like Empire Strikes Back Again remixed. But yeah, one of my critiques though, it's a silly one. We could talk a little more about it. I fucking hate that Kylo Ren says the Supreme Leader is dead. Like some of the writing sometimes just doesn't hit, and he should have said the Supreme Leader is here. I'm the fucking Supreme Leader. No, why is he saying it like this? Like, it's of all the things. Like, I love Star Wars. Like, this is weird. Like, sometimes it doesn't line up, but that's one thing I don't like about that. And like I said, I fucking love Star Wars. 99% of the time, like, oh, whatever. I love it. But just would love to hear what you guys think of like one of the more polarizing films. And let's start with Ryan.
Okay. So I had to think about this for a little bit, right? And when you kind of look through all the Star Wars like movies, like if we're just talking about movies, you look through them all, there's no such thing as the perfect Star Wars movie on paper. There could be a perfect Star Wars movie for everybody, because there's ones that everybody likes and ones that people don't like. But when I had to sit with myself for a little bit and just kind of ponder, I was one of the people that didn't mind The Last Jedi. I thought there was some interesting stuff that they did with it. It was a little bit off the rocker, admittedly. What I kind of hate, and this is after the original script got leaked on the internet, is how they didn't commit to what the Rise of Skywalker was going to be. So there are some story points in the Rise of Skywalker that I don't mind and I actually like. Like we were talking about before, like the Emperor coming back, it's fine, it's cool. The whole story with Rey, Rey, like unironically, is one of my top 5 favorite characters of all time. Like I feel like they could have went the extra mile with her for her story and as her character, but I think the idea of her being this outsider looking in and then all of a sudden being like, you're very important to the story now, and it's going through her eyes of being like a fan of Star Wars being interjected into like the most important plot of Star Wars, like the whole most important like position of Star Wars, being like the clone of like the most evil motherfucker in the galaxy, or not a clone, but like the granddaughter of Palpatine. I thought was fine. I feel like if it was any other situation, it could have still worked anyway. What I kind of hate, and some of it is Disney's fault, some of it isn't, with the passing of Carrie Fisher, there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah.
But I remember reading the script and how awesome it sounded when at the end of The Last Jedi, when the Resistance was calling out, being like, hey, we need help. The First Order's like coming down on us. We need help. And no one was listening. No one was paying attention. So the original script for The Rise of Skywalker was they were going to have a covert operation where they were going to sneak back in to the Emperor's Palace / Jedi Temple in Coruscant. They were going to sneak back in, and then they're going to have Leia shoot out this big, huge, like, message to the galaxy, being like a declaration of like war against the First Order. And it was like this whole like operation where, Poe had to, cover the air forces, and then Poe was like a real big leader on the ground forces trying to lead Leia to the throne room so they can like send the message out. And it sounded really cool. And of course, with the passing of Carrie Fisher, you can't really do that anymore. So it was hard. But looking back, I felt like they saw the reaction to The Last Jedi and was super uncommittal to having that kind of idea for Rise of Skywalker, that I felt like it kind of threw it for a loop where it's like, hey, we're going to subvert what people think about Star Wars. It's like, oh, wait, never mind. Turn the hourglass back for Rise of Skywalker. And let's have, let's bring back Billy D. Williams, which, hey, I love seeing Billy D. Williams. I love me seeing Lando on the screen. That's not a problem. But it was just the idea of there were subtle hints throughout the entire series that Finn had a connection to the Force and he was going to be a Jedi. And then having them not commit to that storyline where it's like, hey, I think I have a feeling of the Force. And it's like, they kind of throw that away and being like only like little sprinklings of it. Him trying to tell Rey, but doesn't really tell Rey. And then what boggled my mind is that after that movie came out, there was the Lego Star Wars special on Disney Plus. And I know that kind of stuff isn't really canon, but it's just kind of like a jokey fun. But one of the whole big plot points is that this is after Rise of Skywalker, and Rey is training Finn how to be a Jedi. They fully say, hey, Finn has a connection to the Force. He's being taught how to be a Jedi. We're going to go show you the history of the Jedi and Sith through this special. So I'm just like, okay, so why does Lego feel like they're more committed to that storyline than actual Lucasfilm Star Wars? And then I think the biggest taboo that they did for the whole Emperor thing in The Rise of Skywalker is that the whole announcement that the Emperor was back was in fucking Fortnite.
What?
Yeah. So the whole speech during the title crawl for Rise of Skywalker is like, the Emperor or Palpatine is back, is because they made a special event in Fortnite before the movie came out with Jeff Keighley and J.J. Abrams. And then they were like, oh, look, we're going to show this cool little sneak peek of, Rise of Skywalker. It's going to be so fun and so cool. And J.J. Abrams flies down on the Millennium Falcon and he appears up on like the stage that they made. And then out of nowhere, like the sound of God Palpatine just roars out and says this entire speech that they only reference in the movie. You don't get to hear it in the movie. You had to hear it in Fortnite.
Oh my gosh.
So like after that, I was just like, okay, so you couldn't have this like 30-second speech in the movie just to like make it a big, huge, shocking return of like Emperor Palpatine. And it's like we started out the movie with Kylo Ren like searching for this fucking device to get to fuck. I'm getting so heated. I forget the name of the planet. Exegol, thank you.
Yeah.
Like they kind of brushed over the fact that the planet that he was on at the beginning of the movie was Mustafar. It's Mustafar healing itself, because for like the history of Mustafar is that it used to be a planet full of life, but then all of a sudden the energy from the planet just got sucked out of it, and so it became that big lava planet. But you see Kylo Ren striking down all those like people in the forest. That's the forest like rebuilding itself on Mustafar, and he's going to Vader's castle to get the device to go to Exegol. And they kind of just
Meh.
don't give a fuss about it, because that's huge for people that are nerdy about Star Wars. It's like we're seeing Mustafar like come back to life basically, because like the hint of the dark side is gone from it, and the only like relic is Vader's castle. I'm sorry, I rambled, but like after my revelation of just thinking about it, it got me so heated. So Joby, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. You brought up some really great points. Before I get into it, though, Vic, you brought up Mara Jade. I totally you asked me for clarification. What was your question again about Mara Jade?
No, just that was the character's name. Like, was it Mara Jade or was it something else from the Dawn of the Jedi? What was the main character's name?
Oh, okay. No, so Mara Jade is like post Empire. She's Luke Skywalker's like wife.
Right. Okay.
The main character from Dawn of the Jedi is Seknos Wrath.
Oh, what a name!
Yeah, like one of the original Jedi. But anyways, yeah, Disney and non-committal. I think the larger argument for that though is just Disney's handling of characters of color.
Yep.
And
Sure.
I don't really want to get into like all of that because we could spend hours just talking about that. But coming back to Joel's question, Book of Boba, what a heaping, steaming pile of trash.
Oh yeah.
Book of Boba, I'm sorry, that was just Mandalorian season 2.5. Like
The last two episodes.
I think they did Tamura so dirty. I think
They
we
did.
were all so hyped for that show. As much as I will rag on the current Star Wars model, I really do think Book of Boba was just the worst piece of Star Wars media that we've gotten in the last 10 years. And it talks on that commitment issue that Disney has. The whole idea was that we're going to show you just how fucking badass Boba Fett is. Something that we all as fans already knew just how badass he is. And then we're going to sideline him effectively
In his own show.
We're just gonna stick him in a tub for like the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, and be like, okay, well, and now we're
Yeah.
going to link it to what we've currently got going on. So here comes the Mandalorian to save the day.
Yeah, he's got to save the show,
and he's going to take over the rest of the show. And I'm like, this, what am I watching here?
Yeah.
Hey, you're correct, Joby. You are absolutely correct. But I will say, damn, that was one of the best shot episodes of The Mandalorian I've ever damn seen.
Yeah, I think Book of Boba was a better season of The Mandalorian than The Mandalorian had.
And you know what's wild? I know I'm in the minority for saying this, but it's kind of well because the Book of Boba Fett actually made me like Boba Fett more as a character.
Really?
Because the first 3 episodes for me I felt like, as far as Boba Fett as a character, because we didn't get to see much of Boba Fett. We saw a little bit of him in Return of the Jedi, and then we got to see Kid him in Attack of the Clones and a little bit of Clone Wars and some other comic books and other kind of stuff like that. But I thought what they were going for at least the first 3 episodes was very interesting to me, because it's like it shows Boba Fett is this guy who he doesn't have a side. He has his own side, and like to him to go and just take over Mos Eisley and take over Tatooine, just being like a badass, but then also showing how these Tusken Raiders that we've thought are just like scumbag villains throughout the entirety of Star Wars, they can show like, hey, no, there's still like some civility within them, but it's just kind of like you have to treat them with respect. And I feel like that kind of helped rounded out Boba Fett of being one, a badass, but also when it comes down to it, he will protect his own.
Yeah. Unless you play Knights of the Old Republic, then you know that the Tusken
yeah.
Raiders aren't that bad.
Yeah.
You just gotta get the translator to talk to them.
Not me forgetting the translator, raiding the camp.
I know, just blasting everybody.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that, Joby. I really do enjoy Book of Boba Fett, but just hearing the production problems, they sideline him in his own show. The fights are cool. It's very also kind of goofy. I think it's really geared for like 7 to 12-year-olds, honestly. But it's like, hey, there's this badass character, but also it's for kids.
Yeah.
They did some cool things, but yeah, man, I love it, but I just like it's just so much going on with that show.
Yeah.
And I love the intro of the new characters too. Oh, man, I want to see more, but I'm like, damn, like, are they gonna sideline Tamura Morrison again? He's really good at what he does. Don't give him his due,
Let him cook.
Let him
Joel,
cook.
you brought up a really good point that I've been waiting for the right moment to bring up. We are no longer Disney's target Star Wars demographic.
That too, yeah. I was gonna talk about that later, yeah.
That's why a lot of what Disney's doing seems so goofy to us, is because the target demographic for Disney is these like 7 to 15-year-olds, and to keep us interested, they're throwing in these Easter eggs of being like, I get that reference, I understand
Nostalgia.
that's cool, yeah, we get the nostalgia factor, but we're not the target demo anymore, which is so interesting to me because before it was our parents who grew up watching Star Wars, and that's why they don't like the prequel trilogy, but we grew up with the prequel trilogy. That was our Star Wars, right? And now now we're turning into our parents of being like, I don't like the new Star Wars, but these kids are like, but Star Wars is so cool. So you got walking this really fine line of being like, when do we become gatekeepy? Joel, to your point about like how toxic a fan base can be.
Yeah.
When do we become gatekeepy, and when do we be the old heads in the room being like, oh yes, welcome, it's you're finally here, welcome to this beautiful thing called Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, definitely thought about that. I'll talk a little more about that, but wanted to hear your thoughts, more of your thoughts, Vic and Nate. Who wants to talk first about what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and for those that have watched my episodes and podcasts, we've talked about a bunch of some Star Wars stuff, and I'm no stranger to giving my opinion on things of stuff within means. Which is funny is that earlier we talked about with Joel, you said how Palpatine coming back in the last movie, The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker, and you're like, that was just a cop out, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm there with you. But then Joby, you're like, oh, it was part of the books, a storyline in the books, and I was like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, and now I appreciate that more that they did that as well, because I was on board like, oh, they just the Poe Dameron somehow Palpatine has returned. Like I was like, okay, yeah, we're just
in Fortnite.
Yeah, and so I was just like, whatever. But critiquing wise, I mean, we'd have like I would need like another 2 hours to talk about all the stuff. But like I said, what I've come to realize is that all the Star Wars, movies, TV shows, things, there's always nuggets you can pull out that you appreciate, that you enjoy. A lot of people will see, like we'll dive into the Acolyte. I mean, I have not seen the Acolyte. I was going to, but then I started seeing all the hate and everything about it. Started reading the reviews and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, well, I'm probably just not going to waste, spend my time, energy watching the show. Mostly because a lot of the reviewers that I watch are very not like they're not like oh, don't watch the show because X Y Z, because they're very like it doesn't follow good lore, it breaks this, the writing's this, and I respect those reviewers because I've been watching their stuff for a long time, and I respect their craft, their art. They know what they're talking about. They're not just like some hateful guys that like I hate it because they didn't do it. It's like they study their stuff. They've read the books. They've understand everything. They're hardcore nerds, and they say it's not worth it. Huh?
The show writers for The Acolyte weren't Star Wars fans. They had
That's what
never seen Star Wars.
That's what I'm saying. That's why the reviewers that are talking about Acolyte saying that, hey, this is not lore friendly like show. Like this is not a show that that the actors and even the writers, they weren't Star Wars fans. They didn't even know. When you have what was it that I don't know, you guys seen that interview with the one of the actors that says Anakin blew up the Death Star, and I was just like, what? Wait, what? Like
I'm gonna interject really quick. I'm gonna debunk that. Only
Okay.
one of the writers of the Acolyte was not really a Star Wars fan. I just want to
Mhm.
point that out, just so we have clarity for the future. Also, what is it? Oh, that quote you just said, Vic, it was brought a little bit out of context. They were joking, I believe, but I'll do my research too. But
No, please fact check me on that. Yeah.
It's also the power of the internet too. People, this misinformation is wild, and they can, and we jump on the stuff that's like the venomous stuff. We see it gets our attention quicker. It's just, have your opinion. That's fair. Look it up, research it, but just be careful what you see too, because sometimes they take it out of context.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with
when
you
I
there.
heard that though, I agree. I was like, why would you bring someone on board that kind of doesn't know, but also it's like it could be a fresh vision we don't know about or perspective. So I just want to throw that out there real quick.
No, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I'm always willing to give like for instance, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. Like everything Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park 1 and 2, 3, I'm like, okay. But Jurassic World, a lot of people, a lot of diehard Jurassic Park fans are like, Jurassic World sucks. It's just they're remaking it. I'm like, I stand by it. Like I enjoy the Jurassic World movies. And what you said, Joby, they're for a certain audience now. They're targeting a certain audience, a new audience that didn't grow up with Jurassic Park, didn't grow up with the first and second movies and the third movies. This is a target audience, and I love it. I love Jurassic World. That has nuggets as well. Same with Star Wars. There's nuggets. I haven't seen Acolyte, but I've seen the fight scenes and the choreography. And I'm like, man,
I was about to suggest to just, if you're not going to watch it, just watch that, because
I did,
off the hook.
And I did. I was like, holy crap! Like that's a nugget right there. That I can take that apart. And I love that. Like and stuff. But I am a big like lore kind of guy with story wise and stuff like that. Like and again, I haven't seen the Acolyte, so you guys can correct me with things like but I've seen parts where they inserted what was that Jed's name from the he was in the guy that said that we haven't seen this.
Talk about Kiadi Mundi.
Yes.
Attack on the Wookiees guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they
Mr. Conehead himself.
Yeah, Mr. Conehead. So it's like when they brought him in, I was like, "What? Doesn't this take place? Certain years before?" So I started questioning it. But I just Acolyte. But again, I could say the same things about episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. Things that were like, oh, I didn't like. So it's like the same gripes I have of the Acolyte. I had the same gripes with the prequels and the sequels. You see, you can find different nuggets, and I can have my gripes about it. It just, I like to have the consistency of the story, of the lore, of like don't retcon some things and stuff like that. Like I'm curious to think about with you guys with the Mandalorian, when they were saying, hey, you don't have to be from Mandalore to be a Mandalorian. Like, did that kind of cancel out with the Clone Wars? What they had that whole thing with the Mandalore and everything. I don't know your guys' opinions on that, but I was like, some things they were kind of like, oh wait, they said one thing in certain timeline of the Star Wars, and then they're saying another thing in the future. So it's like kind of jumbled and stuff like that.
So,
but yeah.
So I could give my 2 cents on like just your example for the Mandalorian. I feel like with any franchise that's been around for more than 30 to 40 years, whenever there's new content that comes out, it has to go through that growing pain of like, okay, we need to have it somehow fit into the story when our story begins like in the middle. And then they have it branch out both ways. It has that growing pain. So, you know, I don't give them too much guff because I know that could be like a pain in the ass to do.
Yeah.
But as far as the whole, like in the Clone Wars, like Mandalorians are from Mandalore. At the time, that is very true. But then you have the Empire pretty much glass
Yeah.
all of Mandalore. And so all the Mandalorians that were left alive were all separated and they've created their own tribes. And so it's the idea of the Mandalorian that introduced foundlings. And so it's like, hey, you have been displaced from your family because of all of this war and strife. You know, come join us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we will teach you the ways of the Mandalore.
Mm-hmm.
We will teach you the ways of the Mandalore.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah.
But for me, that doesn't bother me too much because in the idea of the universe, it makes sense because you have a big demographic of people that get so displaced and so just war torn. It makes sense that they would try to find other people like them that have been displaced and be like, hey, join our family. Even though like we might look like a cult, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but you'll have a family with us and you'll be inducted in, kind of a similar thing to the Jedi, except, you know, you have to swear an oath and wear a helmet on your head for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And if you don't, you'll be exercised and
kicked out
everything.
and go drink the waters of Mandalore.
Well,
Yeah.
that's actually just the ultra conservative Mandalorians. They're the like
Also true.
diehard, they're like the diehard, almost religious sect.
And those
But yeah,
super
Brian,
zealots. Yeah.
Yeah, but Brian, to your point, and to answer Vic's question, like Mandalorian, quote unquote, is after the War of Mandalore, before all the movies and everything. It's more a lifestyle. As long as you live by the code, then you're a Mandalorian. There are like, you know, people born on Mandalore, but then you also have to remember that the Mandalorians didn't come from Mandalore. They settled on Mandalore. They came from Coruscant originally.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were exiled off of Coruscant, and that's, you know, their leader Mandalore the First is the one that led them to, if I'm remembering correctly, is the one that led them to the planet that would become known as Mandalore.
And he was like the first Mandalorian Jedi. Kind of, right?
No, he wasn't. I don't. If I'm remembering correctly, he wasn't a Force sensitive. He was.
Oh, okay.
He was just the title Mandalore is just the person that's kind of overseeing all the leader of the Mandalorians.
Okay.
And it's an honorific that can be bestowed onto anyone. And in the Mandalorian, they say the person who holds the Darksaber is the next Mandalore, the next ruler of the Mandalorians. And I can get behind that. You know, if that's how the transition of power takes place. You know, there's a whole lot of other ways that they cover in all the decanonized stuff about who becomes the next Mandalore. But yeah, like like to Brian's point, there's no really like one Mandalorian species anymore.
It's all different people.
Yeah, like
Gotcha.
like the Jedi. Like anyone can be a Mandalorian.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, like I said, it's always nuggets. There's always nuggets that I can always piece out, and everyone's gonna critique everything. No one, like Star Wars can't. Am I a little frustrated with how Disney's taking directions of Star Wars? Yeah, I am. But who isn't? And then Joby,
Exactly.
you did perfect. You like nailed on the head where it's like Disney is now catering to the other generation. Like our time has come. You know, like Star Wars is not ours anymore. It belongs to the next generation. Passing on how they're handling. You know, let's let them do their thing. I'll still love Star Wars. I mean, as long as you guys keep producing great Star Wars games like this Fallen Order and Survivor, I'm all on board with those. I'll lean towards those. You know, Knights of the Old Republic, which were there Mandalorians in Knights of the Old Republic 1? I remember there was like Mandalorian,
Yeah.
but they were like different. Like they were like their suits were different. Because I remember I think there was a mission where like they were invisible and then they pop up and you just got to fight them.
Yeah, the mission on Kashyyyk, and then
Sheik, yes,
there's Mandalorian raiders on Dantooine.
but they look different, right? They're not like the
They're like the early iterations.
early iteration. Yeah.
Very
So
early iterations.
I was like, I remember when Mandalorians looked like this. Mandalorians looked like this back in Knights of the Republic. We didn't have them with their fancy suits and stuff. Like, but yeah, like I said, critiquing wise, like I said, I can critique it all I want with the sequels and stuff. I'm on board with you, Brian, where it's like I think they had something with Finn in Force Awakens. So I'm like, oh, you're seeing a stormtrooper use a lightsaber for the first time ever, like, unless you've played the games, but like you're seeing them and like they have something there, and then they're like, yeah, but forget about it. We're gonna focus on Rey. And I was like, wait, no, I wanted to see that.
No.
I wanted to see what happens with Finn. Finn was a great character. Rey was cool, but like when you got further on, she became like super powerful. I'm like, well, out of nowhere, kind of like with Luke Skywalker. You saw like 2 minutes of him training with Yoda. Like, okay, we could. All right, that's how he's getting stronger. With Rey, it's like the next movie, she's very powerful. I was like, oh, okay.
There's a world where we could have had both.
Yes, exactly. And I was just like, I would have been on board with it. I mean, I think Captain Phasma, or I think that was her name.
Oh, she got Boba Fetted hard.
Yeah,
They did her dirty.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a badass stormtrooper, like commander. And no, she fell and died. Oh, okay. Well,
If I
Well,
gave
maybe in the Rey movie, maybe.
yeah.
if I could give any recommendation for anybody that is interested in Captain Phasma at all, there is a cool one-shot comic series from Marvel that takes place between The Force Awakens and Last Jedi that kind of shows a little bit more of Captain Phasma and actually makes her a little bit more interesting, which is why it's sad that they done her so dirty in Last Jedi.
I don't mind that. I don't want. It's just sad that you have to resort to like a comic to like get more context when you
Right,
kind of
you want to see it on the screen.
Yeah, you could have shown it on the screen, and it's like it doesn't cost you anymore. I mean, maybe it did for them, but I mean, yeah. But
especially when you have Brianna Tarth fucking playing
exactly
Captain
right.
Phasma.
I was like, yo, let's go, Brie of Tarth. Let's go. Let's mess up Finn. I don't care. Let's go. Let's see what goes down. But it's like, no, she just falls. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll just go home now. I'll go home now, I guess.
Her armor was also made. Phasma's armor was made from the salvaged plates from Emperor Palpatine's luxury cruiser too.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like a Nabooian fucking like shuttle pieces just made
like
into armor.
It was
That is
Palpatine's,
interesting.
it was Palpatine's like pleasure craft, basically. Like it was a yacht that Palpatine owned,
Yeah.
and it got destroyed, and her armor was made from the chromium plate.
Oh, that's fucking sick.
Dang.
Yeah, that's why.
Pleasure craft will be your armor.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, Nate, you have any thoughts on all this? I know we went on a rabbit hole to Mandalore. We loved it, but
yeah. This is the way.
The topic is what is our biggest gripes with controversial Star Wars
critique,
content?
or something that rubbed you the wrong way.
Yeah, I think you guys touched on a lot of stuff that's like been fueling my not rage, more like dissatisfaction. And I think it all comes from that capitalistic mindset. I'm sorry to drop these weird truth bombs, but
With
I mean, it's a truth bomb for a reason.
And what's really fascinating, and I don't study movies. I've never worked in showbiz, but it feels like with the way that Disney being a corporation, they're just trying to control the amount of content. And I feel like the quality isn't there. And I feel like with what Joby mentioned before, with it now being geared towards a different generation as their target demographic, I still think they can make quality content, but they're just kind of like, let's make as much content as possible. Let's monopolize the market on this franchise. Let's make good enough content, make sure it's not, we don't have to spend that much time and effort making it amazing when we already own it. We're already making money off of it. We just have to make good enough content. That's going to enrage everybody. It's going to still draw in the target demographic. And I think that's my biggest gripe is just anything that Disney's been putting out with Star Wars. I'm a former Star Wars fan. I want to be in this universe. I enjoy the characters, the lore, everything about it. But the writing is so lazy. It like with Captain Phasma, they instead of killing her off, why not just put her in a different predicament and end her story not with death, but with a different situation that could lead up to something more. Because that's such a cool character, has such cool armor. The actress is amazing, and I would just love to see more of that. But instead, they're like, let's just go the easy, kill them off, done. Next script. And that's just my biggest gripe is like why there is a way to make quality content, they're just not trying. They're just like good enough. Let's move on. Let's keep making more money, and that just like hurts the fans. That hurts the fandom ultimately. But like, who cares? We're still making money off of all these children, and I think that's like the genius of corporate greed and nostalgia.
We're Disney.
Exactly.
The credits
exactly.
belong to me now.
I think we saw like when like COVID and lockdown happened, and then when they finally started opening things up again for like movie studios to do their thing, there was a very obvious, not just from Disney but from other companies as well, but like Disney for sure, like just started rushing through so many projects from Disney Plus to movies, and we saw like even like not even like a Star Wars example, but like we saw for Marvel. Now, I will fully admit that I am a MCU sicko. I can point out like things that are bad about movies, but overall, I go there just to turn my brain off and have a fun time, and that's what I do. But we saw through a lot of Phase 4 and the beginning of Phase 5 for Marvel, you know, the quality just started dipping and diving every which way. Like there would be some movies that are really good, but then there'd be like some projects like it's like
They're slapping it on, slapping stuff on.
It's like they put like the graphic designers through so much grinding just to get a movie out because they wanted to catch up to their filming schedule, and you know it was like that for 2+ years, and so we saw like the books of Boba Fett's, and we saw like you know the Mandalorian season 2s and stuff like that, where it's like okay, some of this is cool, but some of this is also starting to look a little bit weird. Which I'm hoping, because now they've started to pivot back to slowing down and having more quality for the Marvel side of things. So I'm hoping that Star Wars starts to see a little bit of that too. Like we've been getting some good hits as far as the animation side goes. Like Bad Batch was fucking great because they had the Clone Wars staff on there, and like the smaller stuffs with Visions and the Tales of series was really good. But then again, Star Wars animation for the most part is really good. So like just to your point, Nate, I'm hoping that Star Wars starts to see a little bit of the quality that Marvel is starting to get like pointed back towards as well, because we need it.
Yeah, and like to your point, Brian, like let's not forget burnout is real.
Yeah.
Right? Like you just said with Marvel, like every year was more and more Marvel content since 2008. And I think, you know, to Nate's point about how Disney is a corporation first, they saw how much money Marvel was making. They were like, okay, let's follow that same model every year. We're gonna put out more Star Wars content, and we need to put it out quick. We need to put it out right away. And yeah, like you know, we got superhero burnout, and I think right now, what at least what I'm seeing online is Star Wars burnout is so real.
Yeah.
You know, that coupled with we're not getting good content, or like it doesn't have to be great content. It can be like C plus B minus content, but it should still at least be C plus B minus content.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Like
know?
Star Wars has that like stamp of quality that it should have, and when it doesn't have, it's very noticeable.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people credit, you know, Filoni and Favreau as being like the saviors of the Star Wars universe with just how incredibly amazing Clone Wars season 7 was, and then
Mm.
Bad Batch. Admittedly, I didn't finish watching Bad Batch, but it was really good.
Man, it's so good.
And I think Disney kind of pigeonholed themselves into this desire to capitalize on the market success of all of that without realizing that in order to do that, they need, because as much as children these days are the target demographic, they don't have the money that people like us have. Like,
Yeah.
we are the ones that are going to be spending the money.
Nostalgia credits. Yes.
Exactly. Like, how many
Spend you must.
how many times are as burnt out as we are, it's like, yeah, we're still gonna go watch the new Star Wars movie,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, we're still gonna go see it, even if we're not happy with where Star Wars is right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
and if we have kids, like, we're gonna bring our kids, who is the target demographic, to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, we've kind of all been touching on it. Like, where's the balance of, like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
quantity over quality, quality over
Yeah.
quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Darkness rises and light to meet it. You guys, I just want to note that we are almost reaching the 2-hour mark. I just want to be sensitive of time, but also I did ask some of you guys. It's okay if you forgot or didn't bring. If you guys have questions that you wanted to share, if we didn't touch any topics, this is your time to throw them out. I know I did one earlier from my buddy Alessa. They couldn't make it, but they asked what's the one non-canon or canon thing you would bring in. So if you guys have any questions you want to throw to us here, we should do it now.
Oh,
All right, Nate, I see your hand up.
I absolutely love when a franchise like Star Wars or Marvel or anything, they have a very niche, um, like genre, theme, etc. I love it when those franchises release content where it is completely in a different arena. For example, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was supposed to be like a horror movie in a superhero movie. Of course, that kind of hit the mark in some points, etc.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what would everyone like to see Star Wars like also try to go into a different genre? Like, is there a favorite type of genre you would like to see Star Wars visit, or like set the tone or theme? Like, what interests you about that, and why?
I got
Can
one right here because I saw a
take
fucking
this
tweet
first?
about it. Oh wait, no, you go, Joby. I'll go after you.
I was so blown away by how different Andor was, and how it kind of took on more of like a grimy, like
Yeah.
war-torn feel to it. I would love to see a Star Wars movie a la Band of Brothers, like
Ooh.
just a full-on,
It's
like,
gritty war.
like a full-on boots on the ground war style movie, like Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, like those really big World War II movies. I
Oh.
want to see the all the different battles from the perspective of the rebel soldiers, the Empire soldiers,
Ooh.
and we got a little bit of it in the Han Solo movie.
That's
Yeah,
what I
we
was thinking
did.
of right now.
Yeah,
We're
we got a
with the
taste
mud
of it.
troopers. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that on the big screen, whether it
Be
or
nice.
it doesn't need to be a full movie, a series, something that I think would be amazing.
What really fun Star Wars. Sorry, just to butt in. I think now I'm like thinking about that too. I'm thinking about other stuff now because that would be really cool. I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I also think, because I feel like Rogue One did that really well in like little bits and pieces towards the finale
Yeah.
or the last act. I also think of a really fun Guardians Ant-Man heist in like set in Star Wars, like a live action, just dumb heist things, just happy-go-lucky, just like happenstance stuff. I think that would be a really fun thing to see too.
A movie about the Bothan spies who stole the Death Star plans.
Oh, that would be so good.
There's
You
your
mean
heist
Rogue
movie.
2?
Yeah.
Rogue
Yeah,
Squadron 2?
there's your
Yeah.
heist movie. I'm on it.
Hell yeah.
That'd be good, but then be like, you gotta see who dies though, because like many Bothans died.
Yeah, there's gonna be 50 of them we all love, and 20 make it.
Yeah.
Be like the good Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
but Star Wars.
But
God.
first Disney would have to commit to actually making them Bothan spies.
Oh yeah.
Because in Rogue One they just said many spies, and they showed the spies in the room, and they were not Bothans, and I was very
yeah.
pissed. Bothans are dog people.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know why I kept thinking about how funny it would be if we had a like courtroom drama Star Wars, like a Law and Order kind of like Star Wars show.
She-Hulk in the Coruscant.
Where it's like, yeah, there would be like, you could be like on Coruscant or something, and like there'd be like it could be like an episodic kind of thing where it's like each episode's like a different case, or you could sometimes have like a 2-episode special where it's like, oh, there's somebody that is framed for, tax evasion or something, like, or it's like some like stupid, like, oh, this person is, selling death sticks without a license or something like that. And then your main character has to like go through the process of like Law and Order or something like that to like try to figure out like how the crime was committed, or if the crime was committed by the dun, 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 dun.
Like a detective series too would be really fun. Like
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have like
that'd be
a PI series, but like in Star Wars. That'd be really fun.
I left my blaster on the table. That often was too close.
Yeah, the detective using the Force. Like, no, you lying.
Yo, yeah.
It's like,
Oh my god. Corrupt stormtroopers covering up evidence. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
oh man.
I think for me, I saw a tweet about it. It would be really cool to get like a pod racer series.
Yes.
For me,
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
spin a
Yes.
twist on it. I want it to be like speed racers. I want them to be like over the fucking top. I want them to go to different planets. I want them to be like drama over the engine. They're like fighting each other. Like I want it to be some bullshit.
Fast and the Pod Racer.
I was about to say full on Fast and Furious style movie.
No.
Yeah.
This for Tatooine.
You'll never make it to the Boonty.
Nothing
I
beats
got
family.
family.
I got family. Dog
got
Trail just pops up.
midichlorians.
I'm midichlorian.
I got
Anyone else got a
Mandalorian.
question? One of our guests.
I do want to say though, answering your question, I think it'd be cool if like a Star Wars setting where it's like on a planet, but it's like Games of Thrones esque type of where it's like backstabbing, conniving, things like that, but it's like on a different planet, and you have like the knights, like if you're a knight, you're a Jedi Knights, you have Jedi Knights and stuff like that, but it's like some Jedi Knights are not good. So I mean, I might break lore stuff, but it's like esque where it's like, they're on a planet where there's a king that rules it all, and you have things that are going on and stuff like that. Don't get comfortable with your fair characters because they kill them off and do all those things like that. I think that might be pretty cool.
That would be the perfect genre of a movie to take place in the Old Republic.
Oh
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
When
There you
a lot
go.
of that stuff actually kind of sort of happened.
So let's get it rolling. Come on, Disney, get that going. That'd be awesome to do. So yeah, reading some of the books too. I was like, man, just make a movie out of this book. It'd be great. It'd be amazing.
I actually have. It's a very simple question, but when you are interested or a fan of Star Wars, you have your favorite characters, you have your favorite villains, you have your favorite settings, but with one thing that Star Wars has taught me is, goddamn, do those starfighters and starships look cool? So I want to ask everybody here, what is your favorite Star Wars ship / vehicle? And I guess I'll start. Or I have kind of rediscovered my affinity for the Naboo starfighter.
Oh,
They just look, especially from Mandalorian season 2, just reminded me, like, damn, these things are so slick and cool. And I always loved playing them in the Battlefront series.
interesting. I like the TIE Fighter Interceptor, the one that has it's like spiked.
Ooh, yeah.
That thing just looks so menacing and so crazy. Like you can just do like some crazy acrobatics of that thing, like playing with. Oh man, I like that. That's a fun ship to look at and play around with.
Also, just the sound of it.
Yeah, those are cool. I'm also a big fan of the Y wings. I like the Y wings too. They're pretty
Y-Wings are
cool.
fun.
They're pretty nice. Bombers.
I have one. I'm going to answer your question, but I need to look up the exact model.
Ooh, okay. We're getting specific now. Okay.
So come back to me.
I it's not the ATST. It's the other one from the prequels. Where it's just
ATTE?
the ATTE? Is that what it is?
Is it the one with like the
bug
6
one?
legs?
Is it that one?
No. It's like the precursor to
Walker?
the ATST.
Where
Not
like the clone troopers like standing on top of it?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
it's not technically like as tanky or scary, but I'm all about practicality, and I think that's like such a fun and like silly looking thing of like, yeah, I if I need to climb a mountain, I'm gonna do that. If I need to chase something down, like it looks like a segue of the universe. And, like I would
That's
ride
funny.
that. Ironically, I would ride it, and just for shits and giggles. I just thought it was like really cool to see how it like led up to the ATST. Am I calling it right?
Yep.
Anyway,
Skywalker, yeah.
that's probably my favorite right now, just because I'm like, oh man, I like how it led up to the original one that we saw in the original series, and it looks fun and silly.
Yeah, I think what was really interesting about the Clone Wars going into like the original trilogy is seeing all the different vehicles that would eventually become
From
Yeah.
Empire.
like you see like the Jedi
precursors, yeah.
Starfighters, but you see like the window of it is very similar to the TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like they had like a proto version of like the Y-Wing
Mm-hmm.
in Clone Wars and
Oh, the
stuff like
Venators
that.
are like
Yeah.
precursors to the Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
Looks so
I have
cool.
I one of the Lego ones, it's like this big. Built. It took me like 3 days to
nice.
build it, but I'm like, this thing's so cool. I love building.
For me, I got to for those who are listening in the future, I have this little U-wing from an X-wing game we played.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's one of my favorites from Rogue One. It's the ship they use to travel. Makes a cameo in a couple of the movies. And then the other one is in the Mandalorian, a Bo-Katan ship. Looks like this. It does some cool shit with the wings.
Like the
It's a
Mandalorian
fighter.
Starfighter.
Yeah, it's I fucking love that ship.
Hmm.
I think they just get the starships down the feel. It's so cool. Like a jump to hyperspace every time is just is dope. Like no matter what, I think it's just cool.
pretty dope. Yeah, I want that Darth Maul's little like motor bike he had when you saw him on Tatooine.
Oh
The thing
yeah.
he was riding, I was like,
bro,
yo,
yeah.
I want that thing. He's like, dude, you look so badass riding that. Like, yeah.
I had an action figure that came with the speeder when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
And it was so cool because the back compartment would actually open up. So I would just start throwing like my little bits and pieces of like Star Wars accessories like inside of it.
Nice.
Uh
Yeah, that thing was cool. I'm like, that thing goes fast. It's like, you see him on the cliff one day and he jumps down the cliff and goes off. I'm like, bro.
Almost ran over the chosen one.
I did, yeah. I can get down. Hits him, end of Star Wars.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. There we go. Oh, jeez.
All
Okay,
right, I got
Joey.
mine. I've got
Okay.
it. I found it.
All right.
My all-time favorite Star Wars vehicle is the Eclipse class Super Star Destroyer.
From fucking Forces of Corruption.
Yes,
Hell
sir.
yeah, brother.
That
I know
thing
exactly what you're talking
hold
about.
on.
So fucking cool.
So for those who don't know, there's a
Empire War.
RTS Yeah, Star Wars Empire at War, and they had a expansion called Forces of Corruption.
Mhm.
So there was the Empire and the Rebels, and there was like the Scum faction or the Pirates, and there was the Super Star Destroyer, and then the Pirates had this super one that did like a super Death Star laser. It was like sleek, black and gold, I think. Yeah, it was pretty dope.
Oh, damn.
So that the one, Joel, the one that you're talking about with that had the Death Star laser built onto it. That's a different model.
Oh shit! There's more than one. Oh fuck!
There's a lot of different models of the Super Star Destroyers, but this particular Super Star Destroyer was the only one in production. It was built about 6 years after the Battle of Endor. It had coaxial super lasers that were powerful enough to penetrate planetary shields, and
crap,
and could absolutely just like shear through the shields. Were capable of cracking open like the crust of a planet.
Jeez.
And just destroying entire continents. I mean, this thing was so powerful. I remember when I was a kid, there was a series of like Star Wars encyclopedia books. There's like one on vehicles, one on weapons, one on lights, all kinds of stuff. And I saw this for the first time in that book, and I was like, if I was the captain of a ship in the Imperial Army, that's That's what I would want
That's
to
your
be
ship.
on.
Nice.
The thing comes like it has that classic triangle shape, but at the very tip of it, it has like it dips down into it. It looks like a scythe from the tip.
Yep.
So Joby, I looked up a picture of it. Tell me if this is the correct one because this looks sick as fuck.
That's
Yep.
exactly it. Yep,
Yep,
that's
that's the one.
Dang.
Look at that.
yeah.
That thing looks crazy.
That's a beefy boy.
Jeez. Imagine you're a
And-
rebel, you show up to that, you're like, never mind.
And I mean the like, it was so big that it it could carry a complement of like twice the amount of soldiers and TIE fighter squadrons, and AT-ATs that any other Star Destroyer could carry. I mean, the thing is just massive, and it just
Jeez.
looks so cool. So that I gotta say, that's my favorite.
Dang.
That's my favorite vehicle.
I know we're short on time and everything. I did have one question. And since you kind of alluded to it, Joby, with Empire War, I wanted to know the panel, like your top 3 Star Wars video games of all time. Just top 3.
Jeez.
Top 3. I know that you guys can go ramble. I know most of you guys might say that's the Old Republic, so I didn't want to go top 1 because you might guys like say that. So I figured I'd top in some 3 if you guys. I mean, if we have enough time for that.
Always.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I would say top 3. So I'm obviously number 1 is the Old Republic MMO. Number 2, kicking it back still, Republic Commando.
Oh, I love that one. Oh my
was a
gosh.
lot of That's a great
It was a
game.
lot of fun.
And
Dude, that
then
blade, that little blade, you can like, oh man. Yeah,
and then Star Wars Dark Forces.
Oh, that's
nice
old school.
Very old school.
That's
Yeah.
very old school.
It was like a Doom, like OG Doom port for Star
Yep.
Wars.
Yep.
And I think I love those games. I played them so many times. They're so cool. I love them.
The fun one.
Jedi Academy too. Damn,
Jedi Academy. Yeah.
Jedi Academy too.
It's a great question. We could talk for hours on this.
Yeah, that's why I was like, let's just go 3 because I mean, if I did top 10, that's like that's not 2 hours. We can talk about Star Wars games.
Yeah, so those are my 3.
The 3. Jeez.
Okay, I'm just gonna go off the dome because I feel like I'd be sitting here forever, like contemplating every single game. In no particular order. Episode 1 Racer.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I play it to this day. I bought it on my Switch. I just pop it on every now and again when I want to go fast, have a bunch of fun. Original Battlefront 2. I think I had so much fun with.
Yeah.
Because of the time that it came out. I think it came out like 2008 or something like that. So the original Battlefront series was my intro to PC gaming.
Oh.
Because like my parents just bought a new home computer, like brand new, and then when we were at the now defunct CompUSA, they had a demo that had the original Battlefront game on it. And so while they were doing their transactional stuff, I was just standing there and just playing match after match of Battlefront 1 to the point where when they came to get me, I was like, can we please get this game? Like we need it. And the rest was history. And Battlefront 2 comes out and it's just more but better. And I just remember sitting there trying to get into server lobbies to play online. We had Heroes versus Villains mode.
That Mos Eisley level? Oh my god!
And then it got to a point where people started making servers that had honor matches, where people would load into the game, and literally we would go into the docking bay and we would have one-on-one fights, tournament style.
Nice.
And just going at it, and everybody kept to the honor code, where no one would jump in and like try to double team or anything like that.
That's so cool.
It was so much fun.
That force choke was a cheat code, though.
The force, oh god, Vader was such a pain in the ass to fight.
You just pause and you just get up close to him and just smack him and you're dead.
Oh god, it was so annoying.
Yeah, it was so annoying.
And then for my last one, I'd be lying if I didn't say Force Unleashed. It was the first at the time like modern interpretation of like an action Star Wars game that made you feel like you were such in control, and mostly just because of how they implemented the Force abilities, where you're able to like select something and use the Force to kind of have it hover, and
Move
you
it
can
around.
throw it at places, and like they had puzzles that implemented the Force abilities, and of course you getting to customize how Starkiller used his Force abilities, where would he use more of the dark side, would he use more of the light side, and of course like how powerful he would become, and like customizing his lightsabers so it could be different colors and like different attires and all that stuff was so good that I feel like I would do a disservice if I didn't put that on my list. And I say that with just putting one honorable mention, and that is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the game.
Oh, that's on my
Oh,
list.
dude.
That's on my list right there.
It was such a fun game.
Oh my
like, yes,
God.
you were playing through, which is ironic because that game came out before Revenge of the
Before the
Sith,
movie?
and it was pretty much you were playing through the movie, which is kind
What
of
a-
ironic.
Dude, what a great marketing technique to do that. They'd be like, here's the game before, go watch the movie after that.
I
And
would
then-
even say that the Episode 3 game for the Game Boy,
Oh,
the Game
yeah.
Boy, it was the Game Boy Advance Episode 3 game. It was a side scroller.
Yeah.
I would even go so far as to say that that game was really good too.
Yeah.
I
Interesting. I never played that
game
version.
so much.
That's a fun one. That's a very fun one to play as well.
Interesting. Okay. I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
Yeah. I'll give
That's
you my top three is number one is Empire War. I love RTS games. I love so much. I love Age of Empires, StarCraft, Warcraft. I loved all those. And so I'm like, now you got Star Wars with an RTS where you can create your own armies and like the space battles you could have, dude. Oh my gosh. I love it. And I would obviously mod it so I could like increase my like unit cap. So I have like 6 billion like Star Destroyers everywhere, just destroying everything. I'd always do that. So Empire War. Second one is Force Unleashed 1 and 2, because man, just like you said, Brian, like the fact that like the way you got to implement and using the Force, you just felt like you were just like this completely powerful Jedi that could like has like so much into with the Force that like you can like you're like ragdolling stormtroopers everywhere and like throwing them around and the reaction to like when you pick them up they're like, oh, put me down, like it just like like it was just genius. It was awesome and the storyline was great. And then my third one is that Star Wars Episode 3 for the PlayStation 2, man. Oh, dude. Countless of battles I've had with my cousins of just dueling each other, fighting each other, stuff like that. Oh man, it was like Street
Obi-Wan
Fighter.
with the little bonk on the head.
Yes. Oh, and Anakin with this block is always just like back like that. It's like that was like his back block. It was just like, oh man, that was peak for me. I love that one. That was such a fun one. And then an honorable mention would be Rogue Squadron. I loved for the N64.
Rogue Squadron.
Oh man, it was so. I hated the freaking Hoth level because I could never get the the freaking speeder to go around and knock over the AT-AT. I couldn't do it because I just kept falling and crashing, and I was just like, I hate this map. I hate this level.
Man,
but yeah.
Back when they were willing to be goofy, because I think it was either that or it was like Rogue Squadron 2 that you were able to unlock the Blues Brothers car as a ship.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That was funny, dude.
I
Oh my
remember
goodness.
that too.
Or the Millennium Falcon just blasting everybody around.
Mhm.
Using the cheat code. Yeah, I remember that one. But that's my list.
My list is gonna be really brief. I think when I was a huge Star Wars fan, I was broke as shit, so I couldn't afford video
Yep.
games. So I was like,
Mhm.
buy one thing and just like play the hell out of it. So
Mm.
played a ton of Battlefront 2, the original one.
Yeah.
Force
Yes.
Unleashed was really good. I won't beat the dead horse again. Sorry, that's not the phrase either. And Star Wars Commando, or what was it?
Republic
Is it
Commando.
Republic Commando? That's what it was.
Oh, man.
It had such a fun mechanic of like being the leader and telling your soldiers, like your squadron, basically like
Mhm.
how do you want them to behave on the battlefield. It almost felt
Mhm.
like RTS as well, and I love
Mhm.
RTS games too. And I'm just surprised that I don't see much of those games anymore either. But I think it's probably just simpler to make a multiplayer game instead of a single player first-person shooter RTS kind of game.
Mm. Yeah.
Super unique, and I would love to see more of that.
StarCraft, but make it Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Empire at War 2, just got a second one. Include the prequels this time.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Republic at War.
There you go. There you go.
I'll say for me, Coder 2, The Sith Lords. I totally forgot about Revenge of the Sith. It takes the place of I'm gonna put it above Force Unleashed. Actually, that was a
Ooh.
good
You know what?
nostalgic time.
I can't argue.
Yeah.
It was a very
And
unique
then-
game.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna say because of recency bias, Survivor hit me
Ooh.
really good. The writing, the gameplay was fun too. Those are my three.
Dang. Survivor is a fun one. I'm enjoying it right now.
Hell yeah.
Such a fun game.
Bro, I can't wait for you to get to like near the end game. It gets. I'm not gonna say anything.
Dude, surprisingly,
nutty.
I'm surprised I've not gotten it spoiled like throughout like on the channel.
Dude.
So you mean I haven't, so I'm like, good. Let's get, because I'm still like I have no idea what's going on, what's happening. So I'm excited to
Don't
finish
click
that
on any Survivor things. Keep
I'm not.
that as
I'm
pure as
not.
you can.
As soon as I saw Survivor, I'm like, nope, scrolling up, nope. I'm still going through this game. Which I'm surprised I haven't gotten it spoiled, but it's been out for a while. For sure.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry, I don't know if we're all done, but I have been
No,
sitting here thinking
if you got
about-
time for, I was gonna say one more question. Then I have one more question for you guys, and then that's it. If we're done, if as far as time goes, I just want to respect everyone's time.
For sure.
Yeah, I've been sitting here because Joel, you asked us to come with a question, and I had one, but then we covered it. So
Oh,
I've been sitting here trying to think of a new one, and it just came to me. Kind of more like on a philosophical level. If you could go back in time and find your past self, knowing what you know now about Star Wars, and tell your past self about what's going to happen with Star Wars, do you think your past self would still be excited about Star Wars?
Ooh. We're getting deep here.
damn.
We're getting deep here.
Good one. That's a good one.
I would like to think so. Cause
Yeah.
I feel like my attitude with Star Wars hasn't changed that much from being a kid. I tend to gravitate towards my favorite properties as if I was still like enjoying it as the younger me. Except now I kind of have the wherewithal to point out, it's like, okay, well, some of these things are kind of weird enough, but I feel to me that if I were to go to my younger self and be like, hey, if you thought Star Wars was just this, wait until I tell you about all this shit. And I feel like my younger me would probably get overwhelmed a little bit, but yeah, I think my younger self would still be a Star Wars fan. I mean, I've spent many of a rent checks on Star Wars merch alone. I think.
Oh man. Yes, love it. Grogu, baby Grogu. I think if I went back then, I would be. Knowing myself, I'd be like, is there cool lightsaber battles? I'm like, yeah. And yeah, I'd get excited. And I would just probably tell myself, my old younger self, about the like awesome video games that are going to come out. And I would just be flipping out because knowing myself younger, all I care about was just video games and lightsaber duels. And I try to explain the lore. I'd probably be like, I don't care. As long as I get to see some cool lightsaber duels and I get to be a Jedi and play around in the video game world. I'm 100% on board on that for sure. So yeah, I think I'll probably get myself pumped up, psyched up for the future of Star Wars.
Hell yeah.
I think if I had to go back in time and tell myself, I would probably let them know, like, hey, this is still going to be a big thing. There's going to be tons of this stuff. You can skip X, Y, and Z. These are all the bad things.
Yeah.
Ignore those. These other things, save them as a thing to do in the future.
Mhm.
I think I would probably tell my younger self most of that. Because I think when I was younger, my family would take us to Disneyland every year, like every summer. So we would have those family vacations, which were really big. And I think I would like really amp my little self up for like, there's going to be a Star Wars land in this year. and make sure that you go. Make sure you enjoy all of it. Save up your money so you can
Outpost.
splurge on all the shit. And I think that's what I would probably tell myself.
Save yourself $200. Build yourself your own lightsaber.
Tell your childhood self you'll be able to buy a Sprite can that looks like a thermal detonator.
Hey, that is so cool.
Oh, I love this thing so much.
I would just say to younger me, yes, there is going to be one really cool 30-minute episode where Boba Fett is going to kick so much ass. One of my other buddies, he literally texted me that day, like, there's a reaction image of like the Slave One coming in. And it's Randy Orton, I think, like being super surprised, like this was you. And it was like texting me at like 27, right? It's like, this is you, dude. I know you were fucking losing your shit this episode. I was like, yeah, I was. So it just reminded me, like, there's gonna be some good shit still. Like, it's just crazy. I just want to, before I ask my last question, like, I love Star Wars. Like, I think when I was younger, I kind of went out of it. I guess I didn't think it was cool in high school or whatever, for whatever fucking dumb reason. And I love it now. But I just remember at work, I was I used to work at a Cold Stone, and it was like a Friday or something, and someone's like, "Hey, they dropped a new Star Wars trailer." I was like, "I need to go on my break right fucking now, I think," or whatever, or whatever it was. Whenever my break happened, I was like, I literally pulled up my phone. I was like, I need to see this, and so I was like for 3 minutes, like the world was like gone. Like I didn't give a fuck if someone was talking to me. I was on my break. I was like, holy shit, Star Wars is back. Like, oh man, the Force Awakens trailer when it dropped, it like blew my mind. So that was something else. Even though I was older, like I was like a kid again, essentially. Like I was like, holy shit, the wonder is back. So
Chewie, we're home.
that's what I wanted to bring out too. We're talking about nostalgia. When they fucking play the binary sunset motif, when he says like it's all true, the Jedi, whatever, Han Solo saying it to Rey and Finn. Oh, that fucking hit me so hard. I just so good. I mean, I know it's like 1,000% nostalgia, but I was like, damn, that Captain Solo was right. Like so
Old man Solo.
right.
He believes.
He believes. Last thing, unless anyone else have any burning questions, ideas, things we skipped over you want to bring up before I bring up my last question?
Just because Nate mentioned it, I feel like it was like wild that it wasn't brought up before. Like, how wild is it that now that in this modern day, like, yes, you have to pay the exorbitant price to go, but like being able to go to a place that is just Star Wars in Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. Like,
Blackspire Outpost, yeah.
one of my favorite memories about that place is not even me going there for the first time. It's when I got to go with Joel for the first time, because literally a month before lockdown happened, we got to go to Disneyland for Joel's birthday. And being able to walk side by side with him as we turn the corner and the Millennium Falcon is just right there. Like, I still remember that to this day. And it's just like two buddies that are just so in love with Star Wars and getting to have this experience and just being able to be immersed in this whole like Star Wars land. And it's like you have a droid depot, you have characters like walking around and like just being a part of the environment and going to the cantina and sipping down like a $13 drink and
waiting 4 hours to get in.
Yeah.
I am so glad you brought that up. We went, the first time I went to Star Wars Land was with my fiance, and she's not a Star Wars fan for all intents and purposes, but she likes it because I love it, right? So like she'll tolerate it with me. She did love the sequel trilogy though. But anyways, when we first walked through the stone arches to get into Star Wars Land, and you round that corner and you see the Millennium Falcon sitting there, she turned to me, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "I have never seen you so excited about anything in as long as we've been together." And we've been together for a while. She was like, you look like a little kid again. And that's what it was. It was being a little kid again, living out your fantasies
Yep.
getting to see it all in real life. I mean, like you know that it's all prop,
Right.
but seeing the Millennium Falcon there, seeing just the attention to detail that they put into that,
Yeah.
it I mean it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that, just seeing it for the first time before.
I was getting pumped up when Millennium Falcon was cool, but it's not like one of my favorite ships. But I was just pumped when I saw the A-wing and the X-wing
Bro,
there,
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, that's the A-wing, that's the X-wing." I was just like pumped. I was like, "Oh, I could get close to it." I was just so pumped seeing those ships. I was like, Millennium Falcon. I was like, "All right, cool, whatever. It's what I expected." But the A-wing, I was like, "Oh, oh
Dude,
man."
Vic, I see your like Instagram posts sometimes in your stories, and I get jealous so many times when I see that you went to Disneyland.
I mean,
'Cause
it's like
I
40
love
minutes.
Disneyland. I love Disneyland, and like I always keep up with like the stuff, and like seeing that they're starting to like implement more of the droids into
Mhm.
Galaxy's Edge, where they had like they're not BD1s, but they're like different
BB-8s,
versions.
like the BB-8 versions.
Oh no, like the forced the
Oh yeah.
like they start implementing those into the
Mhm.
into parks, and they just look so cute, like walking around like fucking
Mhm.
baby ducks
Yeah.
and like doing their thing. I'm just like, oh man, I'm so jealous. I want to be.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's the power of Star Wars.
My wallet isn't, but spending almost $200 a month just to have a pass, but it's cool.
I bought a pack of Sabak cards, and I'm currently teaching myself how to play Sabak.
Sabak. Oh,
That's so
my
sick.
The back, baby. Sabak.
Sabak is back.
The Bach Master right here.
That's right.
Childish Gambino.
Challenge.
One of the coolest things that I've bought from Galaxy's Edge, and it's not the lightsaber I built myself, but I don't know if like Vic, you can tell me if they still have these or not. But when I went in 2020, they had these gift cards that were solid metal, and they were like a credit, like a Star Wars like credit. And what's sick is that you're able to preload these with money, so you could just literally take it and use this as currency in the park. It's like a glorified gift card, but like you could just like go up to any store and just be like, okay, purchasing this, and like just have them scan the little barcode back. It's like you're giving him like a Republic credit or something like that.
Republic credits.
Republic credits are no good here. I need something more real.
Yeah, racist George Lucas things. Yes.
Your Jedi mind tricks. Watto. Oh no, there are two of them.
I did actually have one last thing before we close out.
Yeah.
Going back to sound design for Star Wars, and this is more of like a appreciation call out. The freaking seismic charge sound.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Best
the Slave
sound in
one.
Star Wars.
I don't think I have ever been able to recreate the feeling that sound gives me throughout anything else that I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I have to tell a little story. So in 2016 was the first time I've gone back to Disneyland since I was a kid. There was like a big stretch in time where, either, my family wasn't able to go or I wasn't able to go. And so I got to bring my partner who's never been to Disneyland as a child. So they have no reference of mind of just like the nostalgia. But they like Star Wars. And so we went to Star Tours, like the whole like remade one where it's like the different varieties of planets you can go to. And
you got the Boba Fett one.
Got the Boba Fett one where the slave one comes in, drops the seismic charge, and they could tell you, I was getting so giddy. Like I was like vibrating in my seat, like anticipating just like the burn.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
I remember them making the entire ship shake with the bass of that.
Oh yeah.
Ride.
Oh my goodness. That's Slave One, man. That's Slave One ship.
That's slave.
Dang. And that was Jango Fett that did that.
Yeah.
That was Jango Fett. I was like, that's
That was-
crazy.
But like to your point, Joe, there's like so many good sounds in Star Wars.
Just the lightsaber, the different lightsaber sounds for the different type of kyber crystals.
Oh yeah.
Like that one. Like I noticed that in the Survivor and Fallen Order. Whenever you can customize your sword, your lightsaber.
Yep.
Whenever if it was like magenta, whatever, like the sound would be different. So that's why I love the green one, because the classic, the Return of the Jedi sound. And I was like, oh, I loved it. I loved it. It was so cool.
Man, Vic, I would love to come onto your podcast sometime and talk to you for hours about how much I fucking can't stand kyber crystals.
Oh, let's do it.
Interesting.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Oh.
Come on on.
Can I,
Well,
can I
how-
come for that one? I want to hear that.
Yeah, let's go. Roundtable part 2.
Yes.
I have a college level thesis paper of an argument about why
Really?
kyber crystals ruined Star Wars.
Really?
I never knew this. This is
Yeah,
interesting.
I want to pick your
yeah.
brain on that for sure. Let's do it. Let's set that up.
Yeah,
Definitely.
let me know.
I got you. Definitely. Yeah, that'd be fun topic to talk about, because I need to know that.
Yeah, I don't even have to talk. I just want to hear. I just,
Yeah.
I just wanna hear.
Like, who's that guy in the background? Yeah, don't mind me.
But yeah, he's just gonna talk about Boba Fett for 3 hours. Don't worry about it. Really quick before I ask the last question, I'm gonna say I literally had my breath taken away. Last Jedi, when they do the hold on maneuver, all controversy aside, that sound design, the phew, and then it goes like this super space kamikaze, and then it's quiet.
Jarringly silent.
Oh, when
Yeah,
are you
and
talking about when she goes into like hyperspace?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
And like right through
Oh,
the
yeah. What an
yeah, I
amazing
was-
shot that was. That was
Yo, yeah,
that was
cinematically, it's like
cinematic with like the way.
cool.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I was blown away. I mean, not by the movie, but that shot, I was like if I had to pick it up, like, dude, that was such a great way they filmed that, and like how like
Yeah.
I said, it went quiet, and then you see the debris and just like the
Yeah.
aftermath. I was just like, holy
It's
crap!
like- and like just like that one moment where it goes into silence and then the film kind of goes into negative. And
Yeah,
you just
Yeah,
see the
yeah, yeah.
cracks of the
Mhm.
giant Star Destroyer just like ripping apart the seams, and like you said, Vic, like the debris that
Mhm.
just starts
Yeah.
to sputter out.
I was just like, that's not been done before in a Star Wars like
Yeah.
movie. Like, you've never seen that, and I was like, holy,
Yeah.
okay.
I remember that
Right.
scene so well. I was watching it in the theaters with my partner, and I think I'm just like constantly thinking. I'm just like going a mile a minute. So it's just funny when the ship started turning and they didn't reveal exactly what was happening. I went,
Oh,
And then, 3 seconds later, my partner goes, "Wait, what?" Oh, and then she figured it out too, and like in real time, I saw like her
Yeah.
horror. And it was just such a funny, like it's such a
Uh,
great scene.
Yeah.
But Acoustic, to your point, and we've been, as much as we've been talking about how great the sound design is, the fact that they made it so jarringly silent was also a sound design choice.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Silence is one of the
Sit
sounds.
with it. Yeah. It's something. I could go on about that movie, pros and cons for hours. All right. Last thing I want to ask you guys, what was asked to me. I went to a cosplay meetup once as Ezra Bridger, and someone asked kind of an icebreaker question for us to kind of talk. Last thing I'm going to part with you, because Star Wars, war, the battle, conflict. If you could be at any battle or any important moment in time, where are you putting yourself? And I said, without skipping a beat that day, because Rise of Skywalker just finished, and I was like, all flaws aside, I still really enjoy it and love it every time I rewatch it. I said, I want to be at Exegol when they're all there. Everyone's coming in, stopping the First Order. I want to be there in that moment of triumph, seeing the Falcon lead the charge. That's where I wanted to be. And, some people said Scarif. Some people said Death Star 2, Death Star 1. I just want to see what you guys say.
Mm,
I have to think about this for a second.
that's a
Someone said
good one.
Star Killer. Yeah, Star Killer was like, ooh, that's a good one too.
Starkill is a good one. Huh.
This is something that I have been thinking about for a very long time. Any conflict within the Great Hyperspace War.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
It was about, Old Republic, about 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, since I guess 0 BBY
Mm-hmm.
is the timeline. So about 5,000 BBY. That would be any conflict there.
So I'm not too familiar about the hyperspace war. Like, what was it? What was it about?
Oh man. So how much time do you have? So it was between the Sith Empire and the, I guess, the early iteration of the Galactic Republic. So Naga Sadow was the Dark
I know
Lord
that
of the
name.
was the Dark Lord of the Sith, and he basically led a a military campaign when, and I there's so I think there's so much there. It basically was the war that um, spurred the development of the hyperdrive, because
Oh,
it spanned so many different planets and so many different conflicts. But so
okay.
the Great Hyperspace War was where you saw the Mandalorian basilisk.
Dude. Dude.
Oh.
And so like when we were talking about like, Mandalorians, like,
Mhm.
oh my god, the Mandalorians during this time period were just they like, I think this was the conflict like in the lore that gave Mandalorians the reputation that they have.
Okay.
Um, but ultimately, this is what led to the scattering of the Sith forces
Mm.
across the galaxy, and um, yeah, and then there's a whole bunch. I could go on for hours now.
Yeah,
I'll have to look this up. That sounds sick.
Yeah,
hmm
Basilisk,
Interesting.
man. Ooh, forgot about that. Good name drop there.
yeah. This was, I don't know how familiar you are with like Jedi names, but this was when Ulic Qel-Droma was around
Mm.
that same time period.
Jeez. I think my favorite battle would be the one in Attack of the Clones, when they're in that stadium and all the Jedi come down.
Oh
I'd be like,
yeah.
I'd be cool to be one of those Jedi just messing up some droids.
Party's
Jedi
over.
party.
Yeah. Everyone's like, let's go.
And you see some guy get his head chopped off. Holy shit!
Yeah, what the?
Damn, base. I didn't know we like that.
Right?
I know. In front of his son. In front of his.
Cold blooded.
Oh,
Jerry.
blooded.
That's a good choice.
That'd be pretty cool. Just because you get to be a Jedi and just start smacking on some droids.
And some bug people.
Yeah, it's a bug people too. Damn Geonosians.
Man, I'm having a hard time picking because there's so many to choose from. Um, like if I had to, if I just had a gun to my head, like I had to pick one right now, the one that's popping into my head is the the March on Theed in episode 1. Like the droids are coming in to Theed on Naboo, and you have like the like the Naboo guards, and you had like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan there, like trying to infiltrate the castle.
Mm.
Like it's a smaller battle in scope,
Mhm.
but just like the thought process of playing it through in like the Battlefront games like so many
Mhm.
times. Like I always enjoy like having to rush the palace and try to break through it entering so I can like get up into like the throne room area to try to like call off the attack on Naboo.
Mm.
Like it's got a slight like battle / espionage kind of like mix to it.
Yeah,
For a
that's
hot
a good
second
one.
there, I thought you were gonna say the battle between the droids and the Gungans, and I got really excited.
I mean,
Hey yo,
I'm not,
that's
I'm not
another
going to
one.
knock that one either.
That's a good one too.
It happened at the same time.
Yeah,
It's all
Yep.
in one.
jump, cha cha.
They were the front line.
I want those shields. Those shields they have, the little like the force field shields that they have when they like in the middle like
Yeah.
sling. I want one of those shields. That'd be
Man.
pretty cool.
Indigo shields. That was at a trivia night. Anyway. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
No Death Star. No Death Star fight.
I mean, I was thinking of like, am I supposed to be the one participating in the battle, or am I just there to witness it, or like what? I need more context to the question.
I'd say you're there and You have you have skin in the game. That's all I'm gonna say.
Probably because it's just fascinating. I don't remember if this has been shown. I'm pretty sure maybe it has in one of the like episode 7. I would like to be on Alderaan and see what everyone would
Interesting.
be like. What's going on through the minds of all the citizens on that planet before it gets Death Starred and blown up? Like, what's everyone thinking? What's the common person
Interesting.
thinking about?
What's that green light up there?
Yeah.
What's that green light? Oh,
A very
Just hang-
Pompeii kind of outlook.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just
You
hang
guys
out with
some,
Bail Organa and it's just like,
Mm.
oh, what the fuck's that?
And you're like
do they know?
Yeah.
Do
Hey, you owe me 40 credits. What?
know?
Boom. Interesting.
That would be an interesting premise for like a short series.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty. Like you already know the conclusion, but like it's like you're rooting for these guys.
Well,
Like,
I
they're
feel like
so-
it would read very similar to I'm totally blanking on it. Is it Rogue One where they steal the Death Star plans?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know how it ends, right? Like,
Yeah, true.
at the end of Rogue One, you know that they're all gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
That in that final act, like that would be a great show though. Like
Yeah.
watching what everyone's doing up until the point where everyone dies.
Yep.
I
That's
saw
how the
my
show ends.
Green Laser Edition. There you go.
Yeah.
I will say on that note, I highly recommend for anyone who really loves Star Wars, wants to look in between. There's some insight on that in the book called Star Wars from a Certain Point of View. It's kind of like they go with they look at like this side character for 5 seconds. Like, what are they thinking during the cantina? What are they thinking when they're flying to the Death Star? What are they thinking on Alderaan? So curious about that. Highly recommend it. So
Interesting.
I
from
also
a certain
stack
point of view.
I'll also stack onto that recommendation. And for anybody who really likes the movies, I feel like reading the novelization of the movies is always interesting, or at least like some of the bits of it, because they actually give a lot of the inner thoughts of the characters in like certain scenes
Mhm.
that you don't get that context while watching the movie. So it's not like something that like totally drastically changes like the story of the movie, but it's just like a little bit of like extra little like spice.
Yeah.
Like
That
to the
episode 3 one
characters.
is fire.
Especially the episode 3
I've heard
one.
that one they really fleshed it out. It's like
It
really
gives
You get so much
more
of like
backstory on Darth Vader as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like a fan favorite for that one for sure.
And that book was fucking fat.
Yeah, I think it's massive.
Yeah. Remember seeing it at Costco? I was like, no, I don't want to read it. Never mind.
I'm like, what is this, Harry Potter? I don't want to know Harry Potter.
That was Harry Potter book 5 level fat.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, damn.
I like Anakin, but not that much right now.
I watched the movie instead.
Yeah. Well, with that, thank you to my panel. That was a lot of fun. We got to talk about a different range of topics. You guys got
so much fun.
brought great questions. We could go on for hours, but we got to respect people's time. If you guys want to do any plugs before we go, or your thoughts, that's it. We'll just go from Nate to Joby to Vic, and then me and Brian will bring it in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really on social media too much posting stuff like you guys, but I have an Instagram for my miniature painting. It's Dishonor, like dishonor, but with a DIZ for my last name, Dizon. But yeah, you can find me there. I haven't posted shit on there, but I'm still painting. I should just start posting on there more, but that's where you can find me.
You gotta show people your cool MCP figures.
Dude, they're so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I'm definitely checking that channel out for sure, man. I love miniature. I want to get into miniature painting for so bad.
Yeah, let me know if you want to get started.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having us on, Brian and Joel. It's always fun. I'll give a quick shout out to the business I'm starting.
Yeah, please.
We are planning on hopefully going live sometime early next year. You can find us at www.finalsipspirits.com or on Instagram at finalsipspirits. We will be hopefully your go-to place for discounted liquor of all different kinds. And right now, if you go to finalsipspirits.com, you can sign up for our newsletter, drop your email in there. And we're very excited to get this live.
Awesome. Final
Hell yeah.
spirit.com.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Give
Are
us
you saying Final Sith Spirits or SIP Spirits?
SIP, SIP. Final
Okay.
SIP.
SIP.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I want to take it out.
Yeah, definitely. Give us a follow on Instagram. We have our Instagram page up. Give us your email. 'Cause in the e-commerce world, email addresses are gold.
Yep.
But yeah, hopefully we'll get this up and running soon. And for those of you and those who will be listening to this, hopefully we can be your go-to provider of your favorite spirit.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Heck yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Definitely checking that out for sure. Okay. Yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for having me on here. It was so much fun. Definitely want to do it again. Talk more Star Wars. Talk more video games. Talk whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm always open to talk about everything. Give my opinions and stuff like that. But yeah, it was Brian, Joel. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I'm honored. I'm just nobody that likes to
Man,
get.
you're not nobody.
And,
I'm
we see
you're
your
a-
posts.
I'm just trying to have a humble podcast here, go and have for fun. And I see your guys' stuff. I love watching your guys' stuff, your competitions and stuff like that. It's so much fun. They're very entertaining.
Oh, thank you.
When you guys go on Twitch, I'm like, yo, get me in on these competitions. And I want
Hey.
to take that belt. I want to take that belt home, guys.
All right.
New champs here, guys.
I got 2 MCP bros in here. You want to throw it down? I'm ready. I
Let's
got
run
my
it.
name. We're almost painted. Let's go.
Run it.
Run it back.
Let's run it. Let's go. We're here. It looked good right here on my shoulder, right here, carrying right here.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. United We Nerd, it's awesome. You guys can find me at Games You Must Pod, podcast again, where we do talk about all nerdy things as well, like you guys do with pop culture, movies, board games, and video games. My main niche is board gaming because I'm a big board gamer. So I love playing all kinds of board gaming, miniatures, Nate. Like I love playing like a lot of miniatures, like Warhammers and a lot of the Star Wars Legion games and stuff like that. And so yeah, you guys can find we're all on social media as well: X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. At Games You Must Pod. That's Games You Must Pod. Or you can shoot us an email, gamesyoumustpod@gmail.com. Love to interact with you guys there. We're posting as much as we can, talking about different topics just like this, and going all over nerding out. So I'd love to have you guys on the pod as well, so we can talk nerd out even more and go crazy and stuff like that. But again, once again, thank you guys for letting me be on here, share my little 2 cents worth of Star Wars and nerd out with you guys. It's fun meeting you guys and stuff. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's what all this is about. Just everybody coming together, talking about so many awesome things, including Star Wars.
Yep.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And I guess for just the quick housekeeping, of course, you're watching this now, which is going to be the 30th, same day as Star Wars Outlaws, ironically.
Hey, there you
Quotes there.
go. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. Oh, wow.
But this is also coming out on the same day as our next championship stream. Me and Joel are going to be going live on twitch.tv/United We Nerd, going one-on-one in Orlog, the dice game from Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Go, baby.
I spent maybe too much money on the physical dice game, but it is so much fun. I love it so much. And since Joel just finished Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we're just going to go all in. We're going to see which gods have our favor in the dice rolling.
Eddie Dranger, if you are.
So be sure, if you're watching this, we will be going live at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're able to come check it out, hang out with us. There'll definitely be some channel point shenanigans that you could mess with us with. It's always a fun time. And of course, if you're loving these roundtable discussions, you're in luck, because in the fall time, we will be having our Assassin's Creed roundtable that will be coming live. I know some people in this will be also coming back, and we're having some new guests as well, coming to talk about some Assassin's Creed, just the history of Assassin's Creed and how much we love, and also we may find differences on the franchise. So look out for that. that will be coming out in the fall time. And besides that, we're on every Tuesday, twitch.tv/UnitedWeNerd, or you can watch us VOD at youtube.com @UnitedWeNerd and podcast services. And Joel, thank you for being our awesome host.
Thanks, General. Thank you, guys. May the force be with you. And also, of course, like he was saying, check out our other roundtables. We've done Dungeons and Dragons. We've also done, what was the other one we did? I already forgot. My brain.
We did Overwatch.
D&D, and boom, that's it. D&D is all I cared about.
That's all you need. That's all you need right there.
So yeah. Yeah, it's just check it out. I really enjoy these roundtables, and of course our other content is really good. And shout out to wherever you're listening again, all over the world. We have people like in Belgium listening, and India,
shout out
Singapore,
Belgium.
all that. And this one person listening on their Alexa, you rock. Thank you. All that data, you rock.
Nice.
And wherever you're listening, phone, computer,
Get those AI audiences.
You can tell we're passionate about Star Wars, and I'm gonna bitch about it and love it, and still go see it, as we said earlier. Again, thank you. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Nice. Sick.